All right, we are live. Hello and welcome to the Gaming Perspective Podcast, episode number 64. This week's been a bit of a crazy week, as every week has been for the past God knows how long. It doesn't stop anymore. It's nonstop, won't stop, can't stop. Wish it would stop. It won't. So just do a couple of panel housekeeping things. Sam is AFK today because he's working his butt off on Prime Day, because that's a big thing when you're on websites to do Prime Day. So, pouring one out for him because, God, I'm glad I'm not doing it. But we've got some great guests lined up to fill in the space, and we've got some great discussions ahead. So we'll get right into the introductions. So we'll start, of course, with my regular co-host from the beautiful lands of Florida and from the Basement Radio Arcade podcast, Mr. Eric Jackson.
What is going on? Happy to be here as per usual. Got two awesome guests tonight. Definitely miss Sam, but got two guys with high statistics here. It's pretty good.
Gonna be fun.
We are setting the bar high for one of them. We will leave it up to you guys to figure out who that bar is set for.
You fight it out. Fight it out.
Get right into the introductions of our great guests. Fight it out. Yeah. Okay. No. We can't do YouTuber boxing matches without the proper wind up. Okay. That's what we need next in the gaming community space. Is
hey, if you pay me about $30 million, I'll fly and we'll smack each other right now.
Yeah, 100%, man. 100%.
Seriously, man.
They'll be the best black eyes of my life. No
You know what? I'll throw hands for a PlayStation 5 game, honestly. The price they are up here, I'll throw hands for a PS5 game. But we'll get right into introducing one of our guests today, the founder and editor-in-chief of Season Gaming, and the leader of shenanigans on the Bitcast, of course. Anyone who wrangles Dan on a regular basis needs more credit than they deserve. Joining us for the first time is, of course, Ains. How's it going tonight?
What's going on, guys? Yeah, that's a job in and of itself, I can tell you. I know Nick knows. Dan's a character. But no, man, I'm doing good. A couple of my favorite people here. Love you guys. And it was funny, Nick. I was actually reflecting back because I hit 7,000 followers today, which is ridiculous and mind-blowing. But I honestly remember, Nick, you were like one of the first people I started chatting with on Twitter about writing and articles and this kind of stuff, like, few years ago now, which is just awesome, man. So it's good to have known you this long. And man, really, really happy to be here.
Yeah, it's wild how far this space has come and how people have grown, and it's wild. Like I was sitting back and reflecting the other day that I remember when Jez Corden had like 500 followers and was like just a super passionate Xbox blogger, and like I remember like DMing with him about Windows phones and stuff on the regular. like it's wild. It's wild.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
it really is.
We can't do a show without the doctor, of course.
Doctor on Twitter.
Yeah. I'm a Twitter doctor.
Okay. Well, hold on. Let's straighten this out. Let me straighten this out. He's as real of a doctor as Dr. Phil, and he does.
That's fucked up. Goddamn.
He does an absolutely fantastic show.
You went all the way to the fucking opposite end of the spectrum, man. Holy shit. Oh, that's amazing. Fucking guy.
So he does some great work with the Backlog Chronicles podcast, which I've had a great time on prior with, of course, Kevin, Mike, and now Jordan. You guys do fantastic work. So, introduce yourself a little.
Yep.
Yes, I am Dr. Mo Coma. Backlog Chronicles, man. It's a fucking little nice pet project of ours, doing it for fun. We've been doing it for over a year now. Do it every Sunday now. We go live, and I am not actually a Twitter doctor. Or am I a Twitter doctor? I don't know what the fuck I am anymore, man. Yeah, I could be a Twitter doctor.
Kojima for all we know.
Yeah, I could be Kojima, man, with all the bullshit going on. Honestly.
What's on Mo's shelf? Let's see. What you got going on back there?
Pleasure to be here, though, man. First time on the show. I'm really happy to be here with you guys. Both of you, actually, well, I mean, besides Ains, but he doesn't count. Both of you guys, both of you guys have been on the show already, man, and it's been a pleasure. Let's get to it, baby. Let's do it. It'll be fun.
Right. As long as you and Ains don't start changing your names, like when I had Luke and Joe on, they were having wars with their names throughout the chat. It eventually degraded to Joe saying some very unregulatory things about Luke's mother, which
oh, you mean like this?
Pretty normal for them. Pretty normal for them.
Yeah. It turned into a war. It was amusing, but it turned into a war, to say the least. Shout out to Joe and Luke, and just being the two absolutely worst people besides Ains.
Man,
that's rough, bro.
He's catching it tonight, man. What's going on?
Ains just sits there, man. He just minds his own business, man. My man gets shit slung at him. I don't understand, bro. What do you do?
Well, I just have to admire the fact that Ains sits down and goes, I'm gonna do a podcast with Dan, and we're gonna make this work, and I'm gonna control this, and this will work. And then sits down and goes, I don't have enough chaos in my life, so I'm gonna make a podcast with Luke and Joe, and we're gonna see absolutely how much chaos I can try to control on a weekly basis.
I am a glutton for punishment. That is 100% true.
It's great. It's great stuff, man. Though it's great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So. Now we've kind of done the introductions and everything else. We're, of course, going to talk about what we've been playing this week. Because unlike a lot of spaces around here, we actually play games on this show. It's a weird thing.
You guys
are Eric, what have you been playing this week?
I don't play video games, man. I just come in for the shit talk.
Yeah.
You play Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, I just have like a gaming intern that just makes sure, that my achievements and trophies stay up. So that way when people research me, there's something there. Other than that, yeah. But no, seriously, no, playing Ratchet and Clank, Rift Apart. So working through that, taking my time with it, man. That game's absolutely gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Blast to play. I'm just looking at it like I would actually get somewhere if I stopped taking screenshots. You're like, ooh, take a picture of that. Take a picture of that. So yeah, that pretty much rocking on that. My daughter actually jumped in. She's playing on her profile as well. So so she's enjoying that. And other than that, man, actually been playing Castlevania Collection on Switch.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. Kind of got that itch, man. After that last season of the Netflix shows, like, you know what? I'm gonna rock through all these, and some of the, I won't say downtime, but when I'm not playing something else,
Yeah.
So yeah, man. It's got me thinking, man. Konami, dickheads. Like, how do you miss that opportunity, man?
They were legends, man.
Yeah.
God.
For 4 seasons of a show that everyone's paying attention to. You had like nothing prepared to go along with that. Just letting that opportunity go by.
I heard they got a slot machine coming out.
Of course they do. Yeah, hell yeah.
The Trevor Belmont pachinko machine.
That's upgraded tech. Excuse you.
Yeah, exactly. I still think the best day on Twitter had to be, I think it was in 2018, and Konami started teasing Pyramid Head, and people were like, oh my God, it's happening. It's happening. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, we're adding Pyramid Head to Metal Gear Survive for this week only. And people are like, come on.
Yeah, then they're like, oh yeah, we have a Castlevania game, but it's only releasing on mobile in Bucharest.
Like Final Fantasy 1 through 6 remasters or the redos that they're doing. They're Steam and mobile, right?
Yeah,
same thing.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know who's more ridiculous, like them or Ubisoft with Sam Fisher. They're like, we'll put him in everything except for the game you want.
Please, just please.
Don't bring up Sam Fisher here. This is a place of safe. This is a safe space.
Hey, maybe that's what Blue Box is working on.
Wait.
Let's get that out
Starts
there.
with S, ends with. I'm gonna change that L to an R and make my own theories going forward.
There we go.
Hey, they
Well,
did say starts with S, ends with L, man. Hell yeah, anything goes.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh god, this is already off the rails.
That's
This is
just
great.
fucking brutal, man. Brutal, dude.
Mo, you've been playing stuff. What have you been playing?
I've been playing Ratchet and Clank, man. I'm trying to get power through it because I really want to get what the hell is it called, man? Metro Exodus started. Ratchet and Clank, like Eric was saying, it's incredible, dude. It's so good. And believe it or not, I've been playing it in fidelity mode. Ains has been making fun of me since I started, but actually him and Jordan. But for me, I'm like, Insomniac does very good work, at least with optimization. And honestly, man, I know we kind of like frown at the whole 30 FPS thing now because we're such entitled assholes since we got our new machine 7 months ago, but it's honestly not bad. It's really, it's a really, really well done 30 FPS mode. The quality mode is obviously it's gorgeous. It's fantastic. And Eric was saying too, just freaking taking pictures while you're playing. And bro, it's the best use of ray tracing I've ever seen on a console game. Like, it's not even close how amazing it is. When you get to Zerky's bar and then you're looking at the floor and you just see spaceships that are flying above you. You look up and you see them, and you look below you on the floor and you can still see them flying. I mean, that's I'm not a PC gamer who has a 3090, but just seeing it, it's just seeing the way that they did it. Really, it's amazing. And then obviously Metro Exodus, I held off. I'm a big fan of the Metro franchise, and I played the first two on PC, but the third one, when it came out, I kind of like held off on it because I transitioned to console gaming only at the time. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I had already done that, and then I was like, you know what, man, I'm just going to wait. And it's not because I knew it was coming or it was going to get enhanced or anything. I don't know what possessed me to just wait. And shit, that wait was definitely worth it from what I'm hearing because the game looks unbelievable.
It does, man. I fired it up just to see. I said I'm going to do another playthrough eventually, but man, yeah, looks amazing.
You played it on PS5?
No, I played it on. My first playthrough was on Xbox One X.
Okay.
So I fired it up the other day on the Series X just to kind of get a look at it, and I was like, "Oof, yeah."
So Jordan, our buddy Jordan, he's always traditionally been he's been an Xbox guy. And he just recently got his first PlayStation, and he's kind of like been dabbling in all these, these PlayStation games. And he ended up getting Metro Exodus on the PS5. And he said the way that it uses the DualSense is actually really, really good. Like for a third party, for a third party developer to use their implementation as well as they did, he was really impressed with it. So that's kind of like making me. I'm gonna stick with the Xbox version though. I am not gonna buy another copy of another game. It's not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen.
The crazy part is it was $20 for the gold edition with all the DLC.
Yeah.
I was like sitting there like, should I? And I'm like, ugh. And I held off. But yeah, that was a great deal. Fantastic.
Or you could get the Aurora edition on the Xbox One, which Ains just did.
I just did.
You could get the Aurora edition, which has the art book, the full season pass, and the steel book for $30.
And Metro 2033 Redux.
And Metro 2033 Redux.
No, that's what I bought the Aurora edition when it launched.
That's what I did.
Had on this box.
Mine is still sealed.
I paid less than a third of what Mo did. If we're looking at it at the same time.
And he played it right away.
That happens often, man. It does happen.
Yeah. More often than not.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to talk about my day one Ratchet and Clank 2016 purchase and the fact that it's still in the wrappers and I beat Rift apart. I don't want to talk about it. Like, it's just there's just certain things you don't talk about.
Listen,
Ains, what have you been playing?
I'm sorry. No matter what you get, no matter what you buy, no matter what you do, you will never make the same mistake I did with buying Rocket Arena on launch day for $40. Nothing you say will impress me. Nothing. If that's not a mistake from hell, I don't know what is. But yes, I do admit to it. Ains knows about this.
Oh yeah. Classic Mo.
How, Mo? How?
I don't fucking know, man. I don't know, man. I was so excited for it too. I'm like, yeah, this looks different. This looks cool. Let me support the developer. And I'm like, fuck, an hour of play only maximum. But yeah,
Oh man,
that's how that goes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
man.
didn't you look like a couple weeks ago when we were joking about you have like 90 minutes in it?
Yes, that's exactly how much I put in. Yeah. I paid $40 for 90 minutes. That's
Oh, man.
fantastic.
Oh my
Oh
god.
yeah.
Yeah, that's about never mind. I was gonna say that's about the average rate around here, but never mind. That's something completely different.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar, honestly,
hey, what
guys.
you been playing, my friend?
Yeah, I was playing the hell out of Ratchet, right? I don't have to regurgitate everything you guys said. It's stunning, it's gorgeous, it's fun to play. Insomniac just continues to crush it. So that's really fun. I'm about maybe, I don't know, a little over halfway, maybe 2/3 through it. And then same thing, bought Metro Exodus Aurora Edition. I never actually played through it the first time. I played it at launch, got one of those weird bugs which like broke your progression, and I just never went back to it. So this is my first time. Find the beginning a little slow, but I'm getting there. I'm like pushing through it, and I'm starting to enjoy it. It does have some really, it is a huge upgrade compared to what it used to be. So enjoying that. And then just to throw something different in the mix. Well, I did try Dark Alliance briefly, and that's, you know, the reviews for that seem to be kind of all over the place. But we played a co-op mission with 4 players last night. Ran fine. We didn't have any issues. It was fun. And, you know, I see getting some play out of it. So we'll see how that goes over the next few days. But honestly, what Mo and I and a few others have been playing a hell of a lot of is Knockout City. Knockout City is just, it's one of those like simple to pick up. It's a Tetris game, right? You can learn all the mechanics in all of 5 minutes, 10 minutes. But the competitiveness online is just crazy. And me and Mo and Jordan, who's in the chat, and a bunch of others, Pampa, you know, the regulars kind of in the community are, we've been playing the hell out of that. Pampa's like, I don't know how many hours he has in it. It's ridiculous. But it's fun as hell, man. If you like competitive games, right? It's really fun.
Yeah, I haven't checked that out yet. I gotta
so good,
jump
man.
in on that.
It's so good.
It's surprising. Like, it's one of those games where it launches, you know, like, you don't know if it's going to be a Rocket Arena or Destruction All Stars, you know, like, I'll play this for 5 minutes and check it out. And we got hooked, man. I mean, I've got tens and tens and tens of hours in it for sure. It's really good.
Nice. Yeah, I like those surprise games like that. Kind of, you know.
Yeah. So if you like co-op, playing with your friends, playing competitive games, definitely give it a look. It's worth it.
We were literally expecting to install the game and play it for like maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then just uninstall it. Here we are. We're like 30 hours plus each into it now.
Yeah, we got a crew. We got, you know, everyone's customized with their outfits, and
so good.
A lot of people being called mother effer.
It gets sweaty. Jordan just said it in the chat. He said it gets sweaty. It does, man. Like, yeah, it's competitive.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
All right.
I don't think my my competitive edge needs to come to that. I get way too into competitive games. It's bad. It's bad. Sam's not here to attest to it, but Sam's played Gears 5 with me, and when it comes to games where I get really into it, there is a different level of profanity I know when I get mad in those games. And it surprises even myself, some of the things I'll string together. This is one of the reasons I don't stream on Twitch, honestly. Is because banned. Get unbanned. 20 minutes later, banned again.
This one will bring that out, man. I'm telling you.
It really does.
There's been a couple nights where, ooh, holy shit. Well, anyway, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
He's not lying.
But yeah, I don't have to say anything about Ratchet and Clank because, you know, everyone's playing it, everyone's enjoying it. My review for it should be out either tomorrow or the next day. So I had a blast with that. I haven't played a lot of Ratchet and Clank games, but I really enjoyed it because it was, you know, felt like one of those classic games. Like, we don't get a lot of those anymore, where it felt like it could slide right into being an old school PS2 game, but still have the modern aesthetics and playability that we all love.
Yeah.
That's why I really enjoyed about it anyways. Other than that, I really haven't played any video games this week. It's been Ratchet and Clank, and that was about it. You know, getting kids ready to go back to school in September and all sorts of other, like, you know, family stuff going on. I did nothing. Other than that. and sit there and get harassed about Blue Box endlessly, which I just wish would end. But we'll talk about that later on in the show. So, been a busy week in terms of gaming news. But of course, some interesting stuff as always, because Xbox has to always be in the news cycle now. So in an interesting turn of events, Kim Swift, who for people that aren't familiar, was an integral part of the creation of Portal under Valve, then moved to Stadia and has now come to Xbox. She's a former Stadia game design director and is now signed on as the senior director of cloud gaming for Xbox Game Studios, or Xbox Publishing, I believe, is the proper. Yeah, Xbox Game Studios Publishing is the correct branch of reference there. Now, we've kind of seen some interesting things in terms of what cloud gaming actually means, is that we're, starting to see, cloud gaming isn't just about, playing on your phone. It's about, more expansive worlds, more in-depth AI, and, there's going to be, steps in that direction in the future. We obviously haven't seen that future quite yet, but I'm just kind of excited about the, someone who was a key part of Portal stepping into that aspects, because when people talk about the promise of what cloud technology could deliver in a gameplay aspect, we haven't really seen anything that's kind of showcased that. But if someone who was behind Portal gets behind that technology, I'm really interested to see what that could play out to. So we'll start with Ains on this one. What do you kind of think about this add-on? Because Xbox is always hiring staff and everything else, but this one just kind of stands out a little more than usual, so to speak.
Yeah, 100%. This was a surprising addition, but I think, for Xbox, obviously it's a great pickup. Talent like this is not easy to find, and people who have kind of the mind to create something like what she's created in the past are rare, right? So as they try to innovate, the kind of space they're moving into and have been for a while, right? But as they start to talk about cloud publishing, which gets really interesting, right? Because now you're talking about different nuances to how they're bringing games to people globally. You need people with vision. You need people that are inventive, that can kind of think beyond, for lack of a better phrase, right, how normal people can think. And so it seems like she, in theory, right, it seems like she would be a good fit for that. So I think this is really cool. They have, no joke, I was looking at the careers page on Xbox a few weeks ago, and they have a lot of career opportunities for very senior positions in this space. So it's obviously a big focal point of investment for them. They have their vision they've spoken to rather clearly about bringing their games globally to, millions and millions, and they've said billions, of course, of people that haven't been able to get Xbox consoles per se in the past. So it's just another piece in that building block, and the kind of the house of Legos that they've been putting together. So yeah, I think it's neat. It's cool to see someone like that join a big team where she will hopefully and presumably be well funded and well supported, right, in that vision. So if she has freedom and the right team and the right people to work with, it's going to be cool to see what she can pull together here.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What about you, Mo? Where are you at with this particular edition?
I like Kim Swift, especially because it's kind of weird too. Because the last time I heard of Kim Swift was when she left Valve after Portal, before Portal 2, and she ended up she was the lead development on Quantum Conundrum.
Yep.
If you guys remember that. Mm-hmm. That was another puzzle game. It was actually pretty cool too. I mean, it was Portal-ish. There was a lot of those types of puzzles. I remember I played it on my 360 at the time when it came out. But I'll be honest with you, man, I haven't really. I mean, all I knew is, she worked on Valve and the story behind her, and obviously, how it went from like this tech demo to a full-blown game. Mm-hmm. And obviously it takes a certain level of genius to come up with games like that. So she's definitely one of those people that helped contribute to that. But as far as like bringing her on for cloud, I mean, first, I don't know what, the extent of what she did at Stadia. Really, nobody does, considering that Stadia doesn't make games anymore. but
anymore.
Did they ever?
Or, I'm sorry, did they ever?
Yeah.
You know, and
They like the theory of making games. But
yeah, I know. Basically, whatever was the work that she started doing at Stadia, you know, and whatever, you know, scope it was, I'm pretty sure, you know, Microsoft is gonna, you know, they know the vision and they know what she can do and what she brings to the table, and they're obviously doubling down on this whole, you know, cloud gaming thing that they're expanding to in the future. Funny thing is I asked Ains yesterday. I was having a conversation with him and a few guys, and I'm like, what exactly is cloud-based gaming, right? Like, is this one of those things that's just going to start making YouTube videos, you know, and headlines like, oh, Microsoft is investing into cloud-based gaming, right? What is it? You know, like, I mean, I'm
Specifically, what you meant was cloud native.
Cloud native, excuse me. Yes, yeah, cloud native, because they said they're like, so these are games that are going to be made for the cloud versus games that you can play that are streamed through the cloud. I'm like, okay, you know, I was like, but, you know, and then you were talking right now, you know, I heard you say, Nick, you know, about AI and grand worlds and I don't know, all these other things. And I was just thinking, I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm you know, this isn't really something that like I'm really like, you know, jumping for joy about. Maybe because I'm just biased, you know, and I just prefer to play, you know, because my primary way of playing, as always, and to me will always be native console gaming until I'm actually forced out of it and everything just goes through the cloud, you know.
He like,
I'm not like, there's really nothing that's exciting me about it. Is the tech there? Yeah. Is Microsoft going to double and triple down on it? And what they're going to do with it, I have no idea. I'm sure they're going to, you know, considering how they're all in on, you know, their entire gaming division. But as far as like what it's going to bring to the table that's different than what we're experiencing now, that I don't know. Like that I can tell you, like, there's nothing right now that like I'm looking at. It's just like, ooh, that's gonna bring a new experience. What is it gonna bring? I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Kim Swift edition, amazing edition.
Go Kim. Go Kim.
What I was talking to Mo about, because this is, you know, in my real career outside of video games, I kind of deal in some of this stuff. So, you know, the thing I actually get paid to do. I deal in this space. And so I said, really, you know, theoretically, if you talk about building a game for the cloud, there's really kind of two core aspects or reasons why you would do that. One is just global connectivity, right? So the infrastructure that Microsoft has beyond Xbox Live, of course, running on Azure, is far broader and far more capable, right? But the real benefit is compute power. Because once you fundamentally move something to the cloud and kind of double, triple, 10 times, you know, extrapolate the processing power out of what a singular console can do, then you start talking about being able to create things that's fundamentally not possible on a single machine, no matter how powerful the console or the PC is, right? Mm-hmm. But we've been hearing about that for many years. This is not a new concept, and it will come eventually. I just don't know when or what that even looks like. You know, what type of game would need to be designed to take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm. What you're saying sounds incredibly ambitious.
Oh, very, very. Yeah.
So it's going to be a hot minute,
right? Someone has to program it. Yeah. And games like that have not been programmed before. Yeah. It's new space, right? Mm-hmm. So it's very ambitious is a great word, you know, very kind of forward thinking. And I believe we will get to a place where those games become a regularity. But is that 4 years from now? Is it 15 years from now? I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's just a seed right now. That's all.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. It's another Lego. Kim Swift plug. You know, it's just they're just building and building and building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Eric?
Yeah, I'm kind of like where Ains is, sort of like people who think, you know, 15 moves ahead of where we do. You know, it's not about what, sort of that kind of thing. So I think you guys kind of all hit the points like on the head. And I'll just say this about I want to say this about Mo, first of all, being a content creator who decided not to just pull shit out of his ass and talk like he's the authority, you know, on something. We see so much of that. I'm like,
you will never hear me do that.
Mo's like, yeah, cloud gaming.
I keep it real, man.
He does. I haven't known Mo for years and years, but we talk every day now. We've become good buddies, and I will absolutely back him up that he does not pull shit out of his ass, but he inquires, right? He tries to find the people who do know, depending on the topic, and wants to learn. And I just wish more people were like that, because nobody knows even a small percentage of everything, right? It's like talk to people who actually know. Yeah.
The mark of somebody you can trust is a person who's like, I have no idea, but I'll find out.
Exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, quick shout out to Mo. But no, I'll say like Kim Swift created one of the games that definitely for me made me take notice, because when Portal hit, I was like, what the hell is this? When you play this game and you drop through like a portal in a loop and the character just keeps looping. You can do that. Just set it up to where I'm like, holy shit. I sat there watching that loop for like the longest, right? So I'm like, that's freaking wild. And then Portal 2 hit. Obviously, like you said, she left before that came out. But yeah, like Ains is saying, that's the kind of person that you get who can forward think about the processes and of what these things can do, you know, and what they can mean and the kind of things you can create. So yeah, I think I like to think of Microsoft and even Sony in some cases like drafting. You know, you're doing pickups of people who think those 10, 15 moves ahead versus us who just said, you know, I mean, we think, but these guys are here to plan for what we don't even know is possible yet. So yeah, I think that's a good solid pickup, because like I said, she was a part of the team that made this game that made me kind of jealous as a creative. Like, how do you come up with that?
Yeah,
I feel like crap. You know, I want to come up with something that cool.
Yeah, no, it's kind of one of those things. Is like, I think the cloud gaming sphere as a whole, like, I understand for like what we know cloud gaming is the average consumer in terms of playing stuff on our phones and stuff like that. I think that is in a good space where people can fundamentally understand, okay, this is what the actual application is right now, but you got to get some people that really think outside the box in order to start developing for that, because it's never been done before. So you got to find a bunch of people that not only can figure out how to develop for this, but also create something that takes advantage of the tech that you have, as well as make something that's interesting to those people. And I think that's going to be the most interesting thing. Like, there's like one person, I think, and ironically, the episode's named after him, ironically enough. I think Kojima is definitely going to try and jump into this cloud gaming sphere, because I sat there and when we start talking about cloud gaming and what could that possibly mean? I look at something like Death Stranding, where it was like this interconnected world of everyone coming together and building things. And on a basic level, just use PlayStation Network to create paths that other people had made. But what would that game look like as a cloud game?
Yeah.
And that's where I kind of start looking in that direction. But you need people that think outside the box that are going to help you make those dreams into reality, and it's going to take a long time and a lot of work to get there, and a complete lack of Bobby Kotick's in the development room in order for that to happen. But
he's getting 157 million. You didn't hear?
Oh man.
What the fuck am I doing, bro?
And right, that's a one-time payment. That's nothing, not any of the other stuff he's already gotten.
1 year.
157 million.
1 year.
Anyway,
I picked
sorry,
I picked the wrong career path. I picked the wrong career path.
And we all did.
Yeah. I picked being an asshole in a t-shirt versus being an asshole in a suit, and it was the biggest mistake of my life.
Yeah.
But you know, it's Cyberpunk is back in the news cycle again. Not for something great, but not for something bad either. So that's kind of a nice change of pace. So, as expected, Cyberpunk 2077 has returned to the Sony PlayStation Store today after more than 6 months after it was removed. The game was returned with a big warning on it for PS4 owners, though, saying users may continue to experience some performance issues with the PS4 edition while we continue to improve stability across all platforms, admits CD Projekt Red. The PS4 Pro and the PS5 versions of the game will provide the best experience on PlayStation. And I feel like if you had to read that warning to understand that, you have not followed the discourse around this game for the past however many months since it released. If you want to play this thing on an original Xbox or an original PS4, you're crazy.
Wait for the cloud. Wait for the cloud.
Yeah, wait for the cloud. Wait for the cloud. Wait for the Series X Razor Blade.
This is what Kim Swift was brought to do.
You get in here and get
Okay. Kim Swift couldn't even fix Cyberpunk at this point. No, I'm kidding.
Hey.
But I will go to the one guy who hasn't played Cyberpunk. Eric, do you have any interest of picking up Cyberpunk on your PlayStation 5 now?
Let me first say, I'm not going to slander Cyberpunk because I'm not going to die in this room right now with all my friends who really enjoy this game, right? No, seriously, I didn't have any slander as far as Cyberpunk or people enjoying it, who went ahead and picked it up and were playing it like on the One X or the PS4 Pro and having a relatively good experience with it. I had just made the decision. This was a game I'd been waiting for. I know I'm going to be getting the next gen consoles. I'd rather just go ahead and wait at this point. And I was still in that window of, do I go ahead and grab it? And there's the more the discourse went on, I was like, you know what? Shout out to my friends who are enjoying it, but I'll go ahead and wait until they release those versions. I have plenty that I'm playing right now. I'm good. So that's kind of where I left it. But yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, you guys will probably agree with this. This is not at all where I saw this game going when it was first announced through the development process. I mean, it went from this up on the high pedestal thing to like, whoa, to a cautionary tale of game development.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, it's in a lot of ways still being developed.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. I don't think we've seen too many scenarios like this around a game. So. But from what I've seen from people who played it, they enjoy what was there. Like Ains, I know you've spoken highly of the parts that you played and enjoyed. I'm definitely interested to see what they deliver when they finally have like the next gen patches out and the game is where they truly want it to be. Yeah. So yeah. But as far as they're going back to the PlayStation, that's like I guess they worked everything out as far as the quality control part goes, and they're gonna give it a go. With a lot of warnings and yellow backgrounds. So, yeah.
That shade of yellow has just permanently been scarred into my brain. And it was even worse because when they canceled our Christmas party for COVID last December, they used that yellow background to announce it on because our lead HR guy is a big gamer and he sent out the email with the yellow background. And it was like, despite our best efforts as a team, we weren't able to meet deadline for the Christmas launch of our Christmas party. So it was a whole thing. It was scarred into my brain. But
say you can do the whole thing where you break up with your girl. It's like written on that yellow that yellow paper. It's like, we regret to inform you, but we will not be going any further as a couple.
So what I will now pitch for his opinion on the PlayStation to the man whose chair has been shared more across social media than Kardashian nudes, Ains. What's your opinion of
funniest damn thing? I mean, Ains has nothing to do with any of that. It's so
I was speaking with Sean Capri last night on his podcast, and I was like, I got tagged in a post with Paris and Alana about untrustworthy media because we were given these chairs for free. And I was like, I wish I got the damn chair for free. I paid for the fucking thing. And what do I have to do with Paris and Alana? And then other people saying the chair's theirs. Yeah, apparently I got the chair for free, and yet other people own it, the same exact one in my house. So yeah, it's been a fun journey.
You know what you messed up, Ains? I don't mean to cut you off, but you know where you messed up? You made it too nice. You have like the nice background going on and the chairs. It's too nice. So people are like, I'm gonna just use this one. This is like a Getty image.
Yeah, funny. I swear to God, if you look up this chair, like Cyberpunk Special Lab chair, whatever, on Google, the picture from literally right over there in my game room is one of the first one that comes up. That's because I did a video. I just did a video when I first got it, a YouTube video, just to show the chair off. I didn't realize it was going to be like freaking scarlet letter of the gaming community, this is a weird one because, we know the whole, Nick already touched on, everyone knows the history of Cyberpunk at release and what specifically happened with PlayStation. But I found this one weird because their last kind of big patch, right? The big ones, they had two huge ones that kind of fixed hundreds and hundreds of things. that came out like a few months ago. And then it still wasn't on PlayStation. It suddenly comes back end of last week, but still with a caveat, right, of you might not want to play this on your PS4. And I'm like, couldn't they have done that months ago? Like, why did it take them this long to suddenly launch it and yet still throw out this cautionary tale, as Eric said, around, you know, if you're still on a base PS4, you might not want to play it. And it just seemed really strange to me. I don't know. It's very weird. And remember, right, that Sony's a fan of money. That should go without saying. And, you know, they're losing money here, too. It's not just hurting CD Projekt Red. Right. I mean, Sony gets a cut of every copy sold on PlayStation. So it definitely seems strange to me the way this was handled overall. If the game is fundamentally broken at launch, I get that. And I get whatever decision you have to make from your quality perspective or your QA perspective, but the way it's been handled since by PlayStation is very strange to me. Yeah, I don't understand it.
Yeah, absolutely. As a person who paid for their yellow chair, how do you feel about this, Mo?
Yeah, I paid for my yellow chair too.
You know, let me say a true story real quick though. Again, going back to my actual career. They partially paid for this chair because when we went to work from home, because when we went to work from home, they were paying for people to get home office equipment, and I was like, "Look, I need a new office chair," and I said, "Screw it, I'm getting a Secret Lab chair," and so my real work actually paid for part of this chair, so maybe I did sell out.
Chill.
All right, I gotta run to Reddit real quick, and I'll be right back. Okay?
Breaking
awesome.
news.
Oh, that's fantastic, man! Holy shit! Somebody's gonna write an article soon.
Yep.
I've already started the draft, Mo. You just need to go while I draft this up here. So what do you think?
Yeah. To really to piggyback off of what these guys said, especially Ains, what he was saying right now. You know, look, they were really not to retread all the shit that we've said about it, you know, over the past 7 months or since its release, but they were stuck between a rock and a hard place with this release because, you know, we've talked about this before when the game was first released and why it was so shitty on the new consoles. I think because it was announced so long ago and it was originally in development for the Xbox One and PS4, and obviously the tech started improving on their side and the game kept getting more ambitious, and the tech that we were playing on just kept getting older and older. And I think it caught up to them at a point where there was just kind of there was a point of no return. And because of the marketing and everything else that was going on, they were absolutely forced to continue with the PS4 and Xbox One and to keep optimizing as much as they could. Could they have done it like Ains was saying? Should they have announced this? I mean, honestly, man, if they got caught with their pants down back in December when this whole fiasco started, you know, since the shit was already being slung in their faces, they might as well have said at the time, like, hey, look, listen, we're going to be honest with you. It's not going to run as good as you're going to want it to on the PS4 and Xbox. So preferably it would be better on the Pro and the Xbox One X and up, you know, on the newer consoles. And now at least like there's a fucking disclaimer from Sony itself that's saying that, right? Like, hey, if you want to buy this game, go ahead, but be careful. Don't play it on the older machines. The only person I personally know, the sacrificial lamb who played it on the original PS4 is my buddy Mike, Machine Gun Mike, who's in this chat. Yeah, he's one of my podcast co-hosts, and he played it on the OG PS4, man, at launch. You know, and he was really enjoying it. He's like, yeah, you know, there's some shit here and there, but I mean, it's great, man. It's, you know, I see what's there. So it's a good, at least first step for it, you know, if you want to call it redemption, you know, or whatever it is. I'm honestly pulling for the game. I think everybody who knows me knows that I'm pulling for it. I think there's an incredible game underneath all the bullshit that's been going on, and they really shot themselves in the foot with this entire situation. So is this a good step in the right direction? Yeah. But they still have a ways to go, at least, you know, because regardless, right? Like, I mean, yeah, for us who own the PS5 and Series X and whatever, in a few months when they release the new enhancements, we're gonna be happy, right? Like it's gonna, but at the same time, like for the people that can't get their hands on new consoles for whatever reason they can't, there's it still sucks for them, whether it's somebody who wants to play it or somebody who's bought it and they can't play it. I honestly had an excellent experience with it when I played it on the Series X, right? Like, I had a really, really excellent experience. Yeah, sure, you're going to see bugs here and there, which is normal for open world games. But as far as like crashes and shit like that, I didn't start crashing until like my last week of playing the game, right? And I put about 140 hours into that game. So I had like one crash every night for like the last maybe 3 or 4 nights I played, but that was the extent of it. So yeah, man, we'll see. It's a good step in the right direction. But they got a long way to go.
Yeah. My Cyberpunk experience was kind of weird because at launch I was playing it on Series X and I had basically no issues. I was kind of confused by the whole thing because I'd go on Twitter and everyone was really like, look at this disaster of a game. And I'm like, everything's fine. I'm like, okay. So it wasn't until they started patching it. And then when they started doing the hot fixes post-launch, my game actually got worse. Is then I started crashing and then I started having issues. So I basically rushed to get to the end just so that they couldn't patch it more so it would get worse for me personally anyway. But I enjoyed my time with the game. I've got some qualms about the game as an overall, not bug related or anything like that I've got to sit down and hash out at some point into an article or a video or something. But it's really bizarre how this game went from the absolute like monolith that it was pre-launch to where it is now. And it went from like this. It's weird, man. Yeah, it had like this sort of like untouchable aura to it, before launch, and now it's a tagline.
2/3 of their stock price with it.
Jesus, man. Oh yeah, that shit sank as well with it. So
I'm telling you, I never thought it would be like there.
No,
where it has ended up.
No, I don't think anybody did. It's going to be one of those stories that people joke about for years and years to come in the gaming industry, right? Like Too Human, and there's been a few kind of in our, in the industry over the years that have just kind of had that issue.
Yep.
Yeah, and even Sarko in the chat said it himself. Like, that's the other thing that really has to be taken into account. He said new enhancements a year later. I wonder if many in the gaming community will have simply moved on. Yeah, that's the other thing too, right? Like, I mean, if they come out with the enhancement in the second half of this year, we know what's coming out in the second half of this year, right? You got Battlefield, Call of Duty, fucking Halo Infinite. I wanted to save that for last because to me that's like the biggest release of the year. But I mean, it's there's a lot of people that are gonna have moved on already, so they have to do something very drastic with that enhancement in order to make people say like, oh yeah, okay, now I'm gonna finally jump in.
You have to wonder if they're gonna, because they have that roadmap, right, where the middle of the year, like right now, they're supposedly coding additions, like actual DLC to the game, and then it showed like late this year being the enhancement. I have to wonder if they're gonna do one of those like 20-minute developer things where they show the old version and then show the new version with the new additions to content to get people like us interested side by side with the Series X and PS5 version. I don't know. They've got a lot of goodwill to work towards to get people back. And like Mo said, Mo and I have talked about this forever because we both put so much time into it. But I love the game. I love it. It's one of the favorite games. It was my game of last year and one of my favorite games I've played in the past few years. But there's still no excusing the way all this has been handled.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, man. That's even at that point, like, I mean, if they decide to do like some sort of complete relaunch, right? Like it's like, okay, we fixed as much as we can. Let's just try to erase people's memories and just do a complete relaunch. Imagine like the new enhancement. What by the time the new one comes out, there's gonna be what? There's gonna be over 10 million PS5s out there. You know, maybe plus. You know, then Series X is as much or closer, or whatever it is. You know, by that point, so you have about 20 million new consoles out there, so which is a healthy amount of consoles for you to relaunch a game or to bring a game. So I don't know what they're gonna do with their marketing, right? Like, I mean, because they've eaten so much shit and rightfully so, you know, like over the past 7 months. So I don't know if like they just go about it or just like, hey, let's just relaunch it, or because the more they fix, you know, it's at the point where the more they fix and the more they keep telling people like, hey, you know, PS4, Xbox One versions, PS4, Xbox One versions, that's just gonna stick to it, right? No matter what happens to it, like that stink is always going to be there. I don't know what they're gonna. You know, we used to always say, like, hey, man, maybe this will have like a No Man's Sky. You know, we always say a No Man's Sky type of comeback, but how do you do it here? Right? That's the thing. Like, how do you do it here? This is because this is all just a hardware related issue right now that we're dealing with. So, right. I do not envy them at all.
And it's not us they have to convince. It's people like Eric, right? Like Eric needs a reason to get into the game and invest in it. Whereas we're just revisiting it. So I don't know. And remember, they're also releasing The Witcher 3 Series X and PS5 update later this year too, which they've doubled down on. So they must be working on those in parallel. And I just hope they deliver. 2 of my favorite games, man. Witcher 3 is the GOAT. So yeah, I hope.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that update.
Well, that's the other thing too. You know, you got the Witcher 3 update too. I mean, when did they say the Witcher 3 update was coming? This year as well.
Yeah, I don't think they gave an exact date, did they? No. It's like
they know better.
That is true. They were kind of busy, guys. So
you know what? Though, if anything, to be honest with you, if anything, you know, just to stay on this subject for just one more minute. If anything, all this shit that happened with Cyberpunk was a big lesson, not just to CD Projekt Red, but really everybody else in the industry. Don't hype your fucking games before you show them, right? Because this is the end. This is the type of shit that happens nowadays. That's why we're seeing so many. I know because of COVID and a lot of, you know, delays and whatnot. But now everybody's like, there's so much trepidation now with releasing games on time or releasing games, you know, like everybody now, all of a sudden they're taking their time. You know, you have like development blogs, you know, or like developers now are just more, they're more open with the community. You know, like there's a level of transparency now that we're seeing with all these developers that we haven't seen before. Right. And I don't know if this is because of Cyberpunk or just because of, I mean, look at Halo Infinite, for instance, right? Halo Infinite, we talk about what happened last year and, you know, in August or whatnot. And look how transparent they've been. 343 has been knocking it out of the park ever since the delay. That delay might have been the best thing that ever happened to that studio. If we're, you know, assuming it's going to be as grand of a spectacle as we're expecting it to be, that delay could probably be like, what a story that would be. Right. But also what helps with it is the transparency. And I don't think for 1 second they didn't look at what's been going on. Also, the entire industry saw what happened with CD Projekt Red. And that's why I feel like it was good for us as fans of games, of gaming. You know, because that allows more transparency. And it also taught the developers like to just stop hyping your shit. Don't show anything until it's close.
Yeah.
We're big boys. We can take it. Fuck the whiners. You know, like they can just they can scream into their own abyss. So
end of the day, you want to be No Man's Sky, which is crazy to say from where that game started to where it is now. But you know, you have to give credit to Sean Murray and that team. Yeah. They put their head down with people still throwing rocks at them.
Yeah.
Didn't say anything. They just put their head down, went to work. People thought that, they took the money and ran and like all this different stuff. And they came back. And since that point, that's just believing in your project and saying, you know what, we're going to make this right. And now it's like a Cinderella story.
Yep.
But the difference is CD Projekt, they aren't as always as quiet. They keep kind of talking about some things. And it's just like, no, maybe sometimes you need to put your head down. Yeah. Go away. Just take the barbs, you know, take the hit, come back and just.
But this is the problem. This is what I was talking about. That's why the stink stays, right? Because they keep showing their heads and they keep saying like, oh, we fixed. Patch. Right? So you're keeping it fresh in people's heads that this game is fucked. It's a broken game, right? Now, yeah, I understand. Like, they have to fix what they sold as broken to the people that paid for it. And that's why I said they're stuck between a rock and a hard place, too. Like, I mean, what do you do in that situation? You can't just abandon it for a year and be like, oh, you paid for it? Well, fuck you. All right, we'll fix it in a year. You know, so...
Yeah, and then you also announce
it's tough, man. It's going to be really tough for them.
You announce the numbers, like what it's so far it's still done this, and you're like,
yep.
Why are you doing that? Don't do that.
Yeah.
You know.
And remember, they're supposed to have a dedicated multiplayer component to that game next year.
Holy shit, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I won't even talk about it.
And a Netflix show. Remember, there's an animated Cyberpunk.
No one even knows that anymore. Don't talk about it. Just leave it alone. Just focus on that. Oh my god! You know they're going to talk about it, though. Ains. You know they're going to bring it up tomorrow because we spoke about it now.
Yeah, they shouldn't talk about that this year at all. Right? Get everything fixed. Get Series X, PS5 upgrades.
Right.
Yeah. Then you'll see where your community's at. Nick, how you doing, brother?
Yeah. No. Yeah. Just. They've got to sit down, shut up kind of deal, because the biggest thing is like too many times with these games that launch improperly or anything else, the devs spend too much time trying to explain themselves. And like Eric said, with No Man's Sky, sometimes it's better just to sit down and let your work speak for itself. Because the one thing that kind of comes to my mind in terms of that is Anthem. We heard about Anthem 2.0 for months. All these great things we're going to do, and then EA comes out like 8 months later and they're like, no, fuck that, you guys aren't doing any of that, we're done, it's shuttered, don't even think about it. So BioWare spent 8 months talking about stuff they'd like to do, but it never happened.
Yeah.
So when it comes to CD Projekt Red, I appreciate the fact they gave a roadmap. It was probably one of the vaguest roadmaps I've ever seen, to the point of why did you offer a roadmap if it looks like that? Like, there's no actual dates. Like, I remember there's a bunch of people looking at that roadmap going, where does this particular line actually fall in? Because it was like spring, fall, and then it was like summer was right next to fall. So it's like, is that like August or like that's
right.
September? Like, what's going on with? I think CD Projekt Red's best course of action is to sit down, shut up, let their stock tank a little bit lower so I can buy some, and then release a banger Witcher 4, and I'll have my own Secret Labs share in no time.
You're going to cause me all this pain. Let me get some of that stock.
Yeah.
You know what would really help them out, though, is if the enhancements for The Witcher 3, if they bring out amazing enhancements for The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk, like both in the same year, that'll be a very good step forward for them, at least.
Mm-hmm.
When I don't remember Witcher 3, because probably partially because of Netflix, right, and the popularity of the show, but Witcher 3 sold more in 2020 than any other year other than when it first released.
Yeah.
Like, it's selling faster now than it was for the past 4 years.
Yeah.
Yep. But here's the thing, too, is I know a lot of people, and to kind of wrap up this topic, I know a lot of people are on the fuck CD Projekt Red train. But I've been around the block enough to kind of watch that kind of discourse around developers and everything else. And as soon as they put out something that's good and amazing and everything else, people fucking forget about this. The review so fast. Because games are constantly the what have you done for me lately? And once you get past whatever the fuck up was, you're fine. It's smooth sailing. Everyone forgets it. Like, this will be written about for years because of the hype level this game was at and how much it dove off. Yeah. But CD Projekt Red can absolutely recover from this and will recover from this. And what people are ignoring with Cyberpunk is they're like, oh, it didn't hit their numbers and it's a failure. It's like it still sold like 14 million copies. Like,
well, don't you remember
they
came out and said it was profitable on day one.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, of all the things to say after this launch, don't say that.
Right.
That was a statement for investors. It didn't help, but
like, we still made some money.
What can you do?
Help investors, not their image.
Yeah. So sometimes, franchises can have comebacks. And it looks like this fall we're heading for potentially a big one. And that is, of course, with Battlefield 2042. I always forget what the last set of numbers is. But Battlefield 2042, some interesting statistical things. It was the second most tweeted about game through E3, and also was the second most viewed reveal trailer of E3, just behind Elden Ring, which, surprise, surprise. But Battlefield 2042, people are itching so much for Battlefield games now that they actually had to open more servers in Battlefield 4 because so many players were going back to Battlefield 4 out of anticipation for the next installment of Battlefield. And to me, this says two things. Is that Battlefield fans to this day don't believe that DICE has made a better game than Battlefield 4 since then.
Facts.
Because that's the one everyone went back to, and I have to painfully agree. That was the last fantastic one.
Yep.
And two, I think if they manage things right, this could absolutely be Battlefield's biggest year ever, especially with the general unexcitement people have for Call of Duty. Call of Duty will still sell buckets. I need to clarify this because I said this once and people crucified me for it. But the excitement behind a World War II battle or Call of Duty game is way lower than if it had been a Modern Warfare game. So with Battlefield kind of hitting stride and the fact that it's June, almost July, and we haven't seen a single thing about Call of Duty, they could definitely take advantage of this heading into it. So where are you guys at with Battlefield? I'll leave Eric for last because I know Eric just absolutely loves multiplayer games. So Mo, where are you at with Battlefield, my man?
I've never really been a big Battlefield person. I'm probably like blasphemy here, but I was, I think I was always more of a COD. When it came to the military shooters, I was always more of a COD person. I like the faster, twitchy shooters. When I was in college and getting older, and now I'm getting slower, so I think that's going to be less of my style. But look, man, it looks amazing. Honestly, it looks really good, and I know Ains is a big fan of Battlefield, and I know a few guys in the chat are, and that to me is more than enough of a reason to get it and actually try it out with them. Because when I was playing Battlefield, like the first time I jumped into Battlefield was on PC. So when I had built my PC and I started playing, I didn't have any PC friends, right? Like I went from console and then I started mixing in PC here and there. And I didn't have anybody on PC to play with, so I used to just jump into these big ass multiplayer games, and I just get fucking sniped like 10 seconds after respawning, So I think like that whole thing, like just not coordinating or talking and actually playing Battlefield the way that it was meant to be played, I think that kind of just alienated me a bit from the series. But everything I'm looking at so far just looks fantastic. So yeah, man. Well, we're definitely gonna play it. The thing is I still don't know. Ains, let's be honest with each other, man. I know you're a big Battlefield guy, but how much are we gonna fucking play it with Halo right there?
Not a whole lot.
Well, that's the problem too. I'm being honest too, man.
Grand opening, grand closing.
Man, that's how the thing I think about. I'm gonna get it because my friends have it, but am I gonna really play it? Considering that a lot of us are gonna be playing Halo, and I love Halo. I adore it. So it's. I don't know. So I'm not sure how much time I'm going to be putting into it. So it's going to be interesting. And that's the other thing too, is why I couldn't see Battlefield coming to Game Pass, despite like that big rumor about Battlefield coming to Game Pass, because it's launching at the same time as Halo. And considering that Halo Infinite is the crown jewel for Microsoft this year for the Xbox brand, I couldn't see them putting another game on Game Pass, a big brand on Game Pass that's going. I know at the end of the day, it's about players and subscriptions and whatever, but at the same time, they've spent hundreds of millions of dollars on Slipspace and Halo Infinite and whatever it is. And while that's a fart in the wind for a company like Microsoft, they still have to, they still want player engagement with their game, right? They want as many players as they possibly can with their game. And for me, that's why I was never sold on it also coming to Game Pass along with Halo Infinite at the same time. Like, I mean, you want people to you're trying to bring in as many people as you possibly can. You're trying to bring in that crowd, the Battle Royale crowd, or the crowd from Battlefield or Call of Duty or whatever it is. Like, you want to bring them in. You want them to try out Halo. So I know I just like jumped topics, but yeah, I'm really fucking excited for Halo Infinite, man. I think that's like the bottom line. But I'm gonna buy Battlefield. I'm gonna try it for sure. I'll play it with these guys.
Absolutely. Ains, what about you? Battlefield Day One?
Yes. Yes. I'm a big Battlefield guy. I was always Battlefield and Halo. I mean, that's what I grew up on. I always thought Battlefield was far better than Call of Duty for me, right? They're very different games. I know they get compared because of the big franchises. They're both military shooters, but they play incredibly different, right? And I've always just been a big fan of the Battlefield kind of all-out war. In fact, Sarko, my buddy in the chat here, is talking about the long gun, because he's one of those players. I've played many hours with Sark in Battlefield, and he's one of those players that like to snipe, right? And Battlefield gives you that opportunity because you have the huge maps and different classes and everything else. So I've always loved that chaos, and the fact that this is 64 on 64 on next gen and PC is awesome. So I'm really looking forward to all of that. I agree 100% with you, Nick, that it's very clear there's a thirst here for Battlefield, and for Battlefield to return to what people like me and others envision as the greatness that is Battlefield, which Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5 just didn't hit, right? I didn't mind Battlefield 1 too much. Obviously, the mechanics were different with the older stuff, but I thought the game overall was designed pretty well. Battlefield 5 felt like they phoned it in. It just didn't feel right. So I think here, the biggest thing I can say about this game is I'm super excited about it. I will buy it on day one. I'm buying the gold edition so I can play it a week early because I'm a sucker. So I'll be there. And Mo already nailed the other aspect, which is, me and mainline Halo releases are like, that's like, I'm proposing to a new wife. You know what I mean? Like,
especially him, man.
Yeah, like, I mean, seriously, guys, I will buy every Halo themed thing there is. I will take at least a week off of work, at least, if not more. I will literally I've already told my wife it's June. I've already told her that when Halo releases, where I'm going to be all day, every day. And, we'll sort that out. But she knows, and all jokes aside, she'll probably be checking it out with me. But for me personally, Halo's going to be where my focus is. So, but point aside, the point I was going to make before I started, damn it, Mo, stop talking about Halo. The point I was going to make is I'm very interested to see, and I tweeted about this, which blew up way more than I ever thought it would, is that you've got obvious Fortnite, right? Apex, all the big shooters that are out there free to play. You've got Warzone, which has exploded for Call of Duty, right? Over 100 million players. They're making billions of dollars off of it. Damn it, Kotick. And then you've got Halo returning this year, as we already kind of alluded to. It showed really well at E3. The Halo community, which I am a big part of and follow closely, is absolutely pumped for this game. This is the most excited I've seen them in a very, very long time. And it's free to play, right? So what I'm very curious to see, I have no doubt whatsoever that Battlefield is going to sell extremely well. It's going to sell millions and millions and millions of copies on day one. What I'm very curious to see, as anyone like us who have played Battlefield a lot knows, it doesn't launch well. I can't remember a Battlefield that launched well. Battlefield 3 was a mess at launch. Battlefield 4 was a mess at launch. 1, 5, throw in all the other acronyms or monikers. So what I'm curious to see is you pay $70 or $100, whatever. You get this, you go to sign on and play it, and you have issues with it. Server issues, there's bugs, whatever it may be, right? If that happens. Meanwhile, you have the Warzone update and new map. It's free. You have Halo, which is back, and assuming it delivers, is incredible. People are playing it. It's free. How is Battlefield go from its sales, which I think it's going to get no matter what, to potentially mitigating disaster if it doesn't launch well? So I know that's a little bit all over the place, and I'm sorry for rambling, but I just find it very interesting that we have a fall coming up for the first time in many years where we have a mainline Halo, Battlefield, Call of Duty releasing, and it's going to be fun to watch, in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah, that's some old school like fall launch stuff there. Like that many in the space. Wow. Yeah. That's a great point. That's honestly a great point.
Yeah, and not to keep going, but Call of Duty, to your point, Nick, you alluded to it, it's a mess right now. Warzone is a huge success, right? Gigantic. But the mainline games are kind of messy. Modern Warfare crushed it.
Yeah.
But then Sledgehammer, what we heard was their next game, in last year, right? Wasn't ready to be delivered. So they had to move Treyarch's game forward, which was Cold War, and Cold War launched a mess. It had all kinds of issues. And now they're saying Sledgehammer is now not a full Call of Duty studio. They're a support studio. And this year is again going to be an Infinity Ward game. And it's just they've that 3-year development cycle they had with 3 studios fell apart. And so I don't know what they're going to deliver this year in terms of Call of Duty. The rumor has been Modern Warfare 2 remastered, but I don't know. I mean, Nick, I don't know if you know anything, I don't, but it just seems sloppy right now for them outside of Warzone.
Yeah, no, it's kind of been a mess with Call of Duty for a while. It's kind of like the way I look at it is Call of Duty's kind of like the Chris Weidman leg break. They broke their leg with Cold War, and they just haven't quite put their leg back down to realize that they've broken it yet.
Ouch.
That might be the most terrible. That might be the most terrible comparison in history. But the thing is that Cold War did a lot of damage because of how it was delivered. Like, I had friends that are hardcore Call of Duty fans. Like, I remember on I think it was PS4, my friend bought it for his PS4 Pro, and after every game, his controller would desync, and he'd have to hard reset his PlayStation 4 to resync his controller. I had another friend who had bricked his Series X at the end of every match, so he'd have to hard reset his Xbox after every game. And I knew dozens of people that had those issues, and Activision's literal response was, "We'll figure it out."
Yeah. Angela reviewed the game for us for Season Gaming, and she couldn't finish the campaign. It fundamentally broke. She couldn't finish it.
Yeah, I remember that.
And see, that's kind of the thing is Call of Duty has kind of gotten away with that these past few years of not really having any competition. So they don't really have to show up because, Battlefield 5's whole thing was EA basically came out and said, well, if you don't like our game, then don't buy it. And then nobody fucking bought it. And EA was like, wow, they called our bluff. Holy shit. Because I remember I tried to dive back into Battlefield 5 about 8 months ago. I popped a queue, and it took me 12 minutes to find a Conquest game. And I'm like, this isn't good, guys. This isn't a good space to be in. But to see people reinvigorated, excited, and not a lot of people let's face it, when they revealed it was a $70 game, people got hooked on the price for about 2 days.
Yeah.
And then once we saw that gameplay trailer, all of a sudden people were like, $70? Who? What? Where? I already pre-ordered. I don't care.
Hey, that kind of goes with my tweet, doesn't it?
Yep.
I said there will be that game that will call people's bluff.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And that's the thing is what's value to me as a player is different than what's value to Eric, to Mo, to Ains, or whoever. Is you're all going to find different value for games. But to this day, I will argue with people about the $70 price point. The only argument I have is there is no entertainment that we get at a better per hour, per dollar value than video games.
Sure.
Because
100%.
My parents go out and buy Blu-rays for $35 fucking of an hour and a half movie that I would never watch. And yet, the Order 1886 cost me $7 and I'm quite happy with that. That's
Nick,
a dollar per hour value.
Not to harp on it, because that is the thing I keep trying to beat over the head of people people keep bitching about the price of games going up. But like you said, for dollar in a value of what you get out of it, you're not going to match that. And clothing, shoes, grocery, the movie industry, like you go to a movie and like, you guys know if you go with your wife alone, you don't even take the kids to go to a movie. It's like $40 just to like go into the movie. And then you're not even talking like concession, right? And then you walk out and say, that movie fucking sucked. But you go, but the next weekend, what are we going to see next weekend? You do it again. So why I don't understand this whole thing with the gaming part of it. It's like every industry goes up. I'm not defending, believe me, that's not me defending corporations. That's just the reality of life. Everything goes up.
Because I don't want to say they all, because a lot of these whiners or complainers, they just think that this is an altruistic industry and that they're, for some fucking reason, it's only applicable to gaming, where it has to be as cheaply as possibly can, and it has to be as consumer friendly as it possibly can. But every other industry doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter if you get your phone once a year and you pay $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 for it. It doesn't matter about everything else that you subscribe to or whatever the hell it is. But no. Gaming on its own, that is the exception to the rule.
And the stupidest part of it is gaming's never been cheaper. Right. It's never been cheaper.
Right.
You can play thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of games and never spend a penny. Couldn't do that when we were a kid.
Nope.
Yeah, but that's what I'm telling you. And really, it's look, crazy. Man, the people who really I don't want to say real gamers, right? But the people who really buy games and play games, and the ones that really truly appreciate what these games are, they're the ones that really go out and buy the games, and they don't give a fuck, right? Like they're just like, look, man, I know what I'm getting out of it. It's all this shit that we keep seeing on Twitter about like, are these games worth $70? All this fucking just crap, that just really makes it tiring to look at and to hear all the time. And that's really what, dude, nobody cares. Right, like I mean, like all the casual market is so much bigger than the hardcore market that the hardcore market we just like, it's just like this bubble on Twitter, right? And we think like our voices are the ones that matter, and that's it. Meanwhile, there are millions of casual players that they're the ones that really matter more than we do, right? Like they're the ones that are buying, and they're the ones that are. Hey, there's guys that are just like, oh, $70 for this, oh, Ratchet and Clank, okay, I'll buy it. They're not going to be like, oh, but it's $10. But it's 10 hours. Is that going to be worth my time?
Right.
They'll be like, nah, Ratchet and Clank. Yeah, sure, I'll buy it. Oh, Battlefield 2042, $70. Yeah, I'll buy it. Oh, but it's multiplayer only. There's no campaign. But
I'm paying $30 more to play it a week early.
There you go. And here's the thing. They may go, like a casual gamer may walk in and go, oh, games have gone up. Oh, it used to be 60, now it's 70. And they go, oh, whatever. That's most of them. There's like, with it or whatever. No one's going to be happy to pay more money for anything. But at the end of the day, like you said, they're not going to go, well, hold on a minute. What are the is this hitting the 4K 60 for my $10? Like, all right.
No, they see Battlefield and they walk out with it.
That's exactly what it is, man.
My cousins, my friends, they're not on Twitter. They're not involved in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of them, they have their PS5s, they have their Xboxes. Not one of them has hit me up and said, what the hell's going on with the $70 game shit? Not one of them.
You think those guys that are buying NBA 2K every year for $70 every year, the guys who religiously buy it, you think they're gonna sit there and say like, oh, why is this $70? Like,
that's my cousin.
Fuck it.
My cousin. He'll call and he'll say, should I buy this game? Is it good? Or this game or whatever? Because he plays his 2K and that's it, but he'll call about another game. Is this game worth it? He never says, what the hell? Why is this game $70? No, just doesn't. That's just us in this little bubble that have to like tear all this shit apart.
Even talking about that, really, like I mean, it's it's not really to sound insensitive about it, but at the same time, it's like, bro, like we've been gaming since we were kids. We've always known it was never a fucking cheap hobby. It's definitely more accessible now. And like Ains was saying, nowadays you could buy a Series X, right? Or a PS5, and you don't have to pay a fucking dime, and you could just play free-to-play games on top of the consoles themselves, right? So there's a lot more now at your disposal to spend less, right? But just because you want to spend less, it doesn't mean that others have to spend less as well, right? Like, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I mean, they're giving you the option. No one is putting a gun to your head and forcing you to buy all these things that you don't want to buy or you don't want to play. You don't have to buy the $70 games. I'm not making an excuse for it. I'm not making an excuse for the corporations, whatever, blah, 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 all that generic fucking cliche shit. But at the same time, like, it is what it is, man. That's where it's going. Either get on the fucking train or don't.
And Mo, you know why it's complete horseshit, Mo? Because I distinctly remember people saying before these consoles launched, and we were trying to figure out what they're going to cost because they have all this stuff going on, and that's where they really could have gotten us. They had to figure out how to get those prices to where people will be okay with it. They could have easily raised the prices on consoles for what's going on in these boxes, right? But I saw people literally say, "I don't give a shit what it costs. I'll pay $1,000 for it."
Dude, that was
$70 game. Fuck you.
That was all of us. That was all of us. I swear to God, I was expecting the Series X to be $599.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what I was. I was like $549 minimum. I'm like, with all the shit that's in it, $549 minimum. Right? I'm like, and then some people are like, oh, $549. I'm like, yeah, man, I'll fucking pay $600. I'll even pay $700 if I have to.
Right.
We knew we were going to. We would have shelled it out some way or somehow. Like, if you want it, you're gonna try it. You're gonna get it.
Yeah. And the same people bitching will go on the next tweet and talk about how much they love N64. It was like their favorite console. I'm like, so you don't remember paying?
That's what I mean. Games have never been cheaper.
You don't remember paying $90 for those games? Okay.
Yeah, I paid $80, or I didn't pay. My mom paid $80 plus tax for Phantasy Star 2 on the Genesis.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shout out to the moms, Danes. I tell my mom all the time, like, I don't know how the hell you did it. I don't know how you did it, because, like you said, for the cost of inflation, what they were paying for those things, it's insane.
Yeah,
so I don't understand the issue now.
Do these people remember how much Donkey Kong 64 cost when you went to buy it from the store?
I do.
What the fuck, man? Like, I mean, seriously, I don't understand. Like, tech gets better, everything gets better, but you're expecting everything to get cheaper? I don't know.
I'm gonna drop some knowledge for you. The whole $70 game drama is driven by a bunch of people that are my fucking age that work fucking minimum wage jobs. They're trying to cash in off their YouTube ad revenue. And then the people that are soaking up that said content are 15-year-olds with Persona 5 avatars on Twitter that are mad that their mom won't buy them the next $70 game because they're grounded for calling someone a fucker on Xbox Live. Man. This is the thing. This is the generational difference. Is there is a fuck ton of people that are my age that grew up where GameCube games were $59.99.
Yeah.
And that's the expectation. Like, I didn't grow up in the cartridge era. I grew up in the disc era, and that was cheap. Like, I remember going and buying like PlayStation 2 games. Yeah, my rich friend bought PS2 games, and we burned the rest of them. Like, fuck, none of us bought PlayStation 2 games. That's the thing, is like, there's a generational difference that doesn't understand the cost of this hobby, what it used to be versus what it is now. And I think that's what you're seeing, is that some people just don't understand that difference. And like, everyone's gonna find different value. Like, honestly, I asked one of my friends, I'm like, so how do you feel about 2K charging $10 more for 2K 21? And he was like, I don't know, dude, I buy the Ultimate Edition. I'm like, for fuck's sakes.
Dude, it's honestly
show them what a Neo Geo game costs. And
man.
Honestly, too, man, like, I was just thinking of, you know what else I was just thinking about too, man, just to piggyback off this. Like, I remember when Xbox made a wireless adapter for the OG Xbox, right? And you had and you were able to connect it to your Wi-Fi system at the time. That itself was $100, and I remember I bought that, and the first game I played on it was Halo 2 Online, right? And I'm just saying, like, imagine, like, you bought the Xbox and you bought the games and you bought the wireless adapter and the controllers, and that shit wasn't cheap back in the day, right? And now all of a sudden, like, you have all that fucking shit packed into the console itself. Imagine there was like an external fucking wireless. Imagine there was an external Ethernet adapter. People would fucking laugh at you nowadays, right? But I'm just saying, like, I don't know, but it's
like the one for 360. I mean,
even the 360 had one,
and the 360 had a G and they had an N, and if you wanted high speed, you had to pay more to get the N, which I did.
Right. It's just crazy, man. It's just people just don't either remember or don't know. They don't realize.
Holy shit, man! And the PS3 was built in too.
I can remember, to wrap this up, I can remember buying a PlayStation 3 at launch in Canada, And I'm not going to say how many little magical bags of green lettuce I had to sell in order to buy a PlayStation 3. But the PlayStation 3 at launch for the 60 gigabyte was $659. And that out the door with my extra controller and my handful of games and everything, I remember dropping about $1,100 on the PS3 at launch.
Yeah.
And my only other question on my way out of my GameStop was, when are more games coming out for it? That was the only question I had.
Look how much you paid. Look how much you paid to play. And we were just saying, now you can pay $500 for these new consoles, come home. You don't even need a subscription. There's so many free-to-play games. You can literally just connect it to online. What the fuck are you complaining about?
Look, you could buy a fucking Xbox Series S with 3 months of fucking Game Pass for $300 and have an access to 100 games for 3 months. If you don't want to maintain the subscription, that's fine. But there was never any point where I bought a console and then had hundreds of games to play on it. I remember buying an Xbox One and scraping it down like pennies together to buy an Xbox One, and then I had to wait another 2 months to buy Sunset Overdrive for it because I was broke. I bought my Xbox One. I was like, oh, I can't wait.
That's the story for a lot of people, though.
Yeah.
Like in those generations, yeah.
Yeah, I sat there, I bought my Xbox One, I sat there, I was like, I'm so happy I have this thing. I can't wait to buy a game for it. And that was just where I was. And, you know, it sucks for a lot of reasons. And, you know, I think more of it comes down to wealth disparity in, you know, North America as a whole is a conversation that people don't want to have about this. But that's a whole different subject that, you know, devolves into a lot of different
That's an
things.
Actual meaningful subject.
Yeah.
Beyond the $70 game.
Yeah. But, you know, we got to get our tinfoil hats on now. Well, actually, we'll just keep them on for the remainder of the show.
Mo's been ready. He's been wearing it the whole time.
Yeah. So, some very strong-eyed people noticed that with the updated Amazon listings for Ghost of Tsushima, that the only on PlayStation moniker had been removed from the cases. And there are now copies in the wild that don't have the only on PlayStation logo on it. And now people are speculating that maybe Ghost of Tsushima is coming to PC, which this is kind of like Xbox acquiring studios to me. I'm like, I don't understand why people are still fucking surprised at this point.
Right.
Like, the people are like, well, what if they bring God of War? I'm like, it's not if anymore.
It's when. Exactly.
Well, the reason why is because there's still that stigma with Sony, right? Like, I mean, it's been a walled garden for years and years, and that's really why. Like, I mean, people are just now starting to break out of that. Yeah. You know, that shell that's just like, oh wow, I can play a PlayStation game on another console or on another system and another ecosystem. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, and PlayStation leadership has been telling them that we're bringing more games to PC.
Yes.
They're
like, they don't mean it.
Yeah, it's like, you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Like,
they want to support us in this console war. They're not going to do that.
I still think, though, I still think that it's going to be, look, if they bring all PC games or if they bring all of their games at some point, whether it's a year or whatever after, like Ghost of Tsushima, we're assuming if it's coming to PC, which it most likely will, it's going to be about a year after it launches. So if this is their new model, you know, to bring them 1 year after instead of 2 or 3 years or whatever, then maybe I think that's what's going to work for them. It's not going to be like the PS4 generation anymore, where they're going to come 3 years, 4 years or whatever, or 3 years after. Yeah, it's going to be a lot sooner, man, because every game that they've released so far on PC has been successful for them. And a game like Ghost of Tsushima, which was incredibly successful for them on one console, imagine how many people are chomping at the bits to just play it on PC as well. Yeah. Right? Like, I mean, so they know, man, it's a fucking different era. It's a different time. You know, I mean, yeah, they are going to bait you. They're still going to bait you by purchasing their console. They're not going to stop doing that because that's what Sony does. You know, I mean, that's what works for them. But like, as for like, I can tell you, like, I don't think Ratchet and Clank will come to PC. Like, I can't see a game like Ratchet and Clank coming to PC. I don't think they're going to do all of them, but I think they will probably do like I don't know, man. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about anymore. But yeah, but anyway, just yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys think every single game
Oh,
that they release will come to PC?
for myself personally,
Yeah.
I say yes, because the way I approach the whole PC release thing is I tie it back to, and I know people hate when I do this, but I tie this back to the Sean Layden back in 2017, where he said that the AAA games industry as a whole isn't sustainable in its current state.
Mm-hmm.
And, games are going to cost more and more money. And I know PlayStation with like The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima, and especially with Days Gone, with how long that took in development, they definitely felt the pinch of that cost cut into their profits. Those games were incredibly profitable, don't get me wrong, but the increased production price definitely, cut into the pocket a little bit. So how are some creative ways that we can, recoup some of that cost and still make a little bit extra? PC is a good market. PC players, if you give them games, they will buy those games.
Yes,
Xbox has proven this. Xbox proved this to Sony. You kind of saw Sony pivot on this.
Yes.
It's probably in the works for a while. You heard some Sea of Thieves and Forza and all those games in the Steam's top selling chart every week.
Yep.
You have to think a couple of people at PlayStation went, why aren't we in on that? And that's just my view on it. And I think every game going forward will be going to PC. It's not if, it's when. That's the only question that remains to be seen with PlayStation. What is their formula for when they release these games on PC?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty much in the same spot. I think you nailed it. It's, at the end of the day, as we always say, this is a business. They don't care about your feelings. Surprise. There's a bottom line here. You've got a new leader who is very focused on the bottom line, and he has to prove to his leadership that he can improve the bottom line. And at the end of the day, you're not hurting anything by releasing these games on PC. I mean, you're not, especially if you're not doing day and date, you're not detracting at all from your core, what PlayStation would consider their core user base on console. This is literally common sense. It doesn't get much more common than this. It's free money. And it's not free. There's development that takes place, but there's a positive ROI. You don't hurt your existing user base. Therefore, it's essentially free money. To your point, Mo, it's weird. We kind of envision, when we think about PlayStation going to PC, we think of the big exclusives, right? And when we think of big exclusives, the typical names come up: God of War, Horizon, now Days Gone, Ghost, right? All these ones. But to Nick's point, right? If you're PlayStation and you're sitting there, Jim Ryan and everyone else, looking at the bottom line, and you're saying, these games are working for us, we're making however much money on each of these releases, why would you not release Spider-Man? Why would you not release Ratchet and Clank? It's just, again, it's money. So I think as long as they have the development bandwidth to do it, to make those ports, which nowadays is far easier than it ever has been. It's weird to envision Ratchet and Clank on PC, but it wouldn't surprise me if it happens.
That would be crazy.
So
crazy to see, really.
Yeah, I co-sign on the same thing that you guys are saying, and in particular, it's definitely like that case by case. But I don't understand why people don't kind of see like where the business side of it is. It's like you hit a cap to where pretty much anybody who's going to have purchased this on console have done so already. So it's been sitting, and you put it in sales, and you just kind of look at how the discounts on the game happen every time a sale like comes around. They go lower, lower, lower. So now once you get to a certain point to where, you say like Horizon Zero Dawn, the complete collection is $15.99 in a sale, you realize that they have bottomed out to where they can get people interested in buying this on the console. So what do? Like Ain said, this is business. It's not about, making you happy. And I don't know why that wouldn't make anybody, why you would be happy or why that bothers you, outside of coming to the bubble to argue with some other nobody or some other idiot, right? And if you watch any other market, it's the same thing. For years, Apple did not put a mid-range phone out into the market because for their user base, they felt it kind of devalued things, right? Where, Android or Samsung or whatever, they were doing that. And then the market started dictating, where they started seeing more people were buying mid-range phone versus going out and buying like the higher end, right? So what did Apple do? They joined in because that's money on the table.
Yep.
You're leaving money on the table, and you have to adjust. And that's where you're seeing if you're not going to, hey, you guys don't want us to charge $70 for games. You don't want us to put games on PC, but you want the best quality in the world. And it goes back to what Sean Layden said. All of these things, their costs are going up. So guess what? You want to be in this luxury thing of gaming, which is a luxury. It's not a right.
Yes.
These are things that we have to do.
Yep.
Yes.
Or we're not going to be here.
And there's a reason, to your point, like Layden, as Nick brought up, right? When you have a market, the old market play that PlayStation was focused on, which is we focus on exclusives, AAA single player experiences, console only, right? Whether you like it or not, that is not fully sustainable. You can look to Spider-Man and God of War and say they sold 10, 15 million copies and you're going to make your money on those, right? But when you have something that hits, like Death Stranding may not be the best thing, but supposedly that's sold on PS less than 2 million copies, or Days Gone, which, I don't remember how much it sold, not as much as God of War and those. And that took Sucker Punch 6+7 years to make. You're talking about funding a AAA 100+ person studio for 7 years.
7 years, yeah.
To put out a game that sells a couple million copies and has no recurring revenue stream.
Right.
There's nothing in that game that people are investing into after they purchase the game. Right?
Yeah.
You just can't do that. What you look at the market and you say, Fortnite made $8 billion last year, and they probably could do it with a staff of what? I don't know, less than a AAA development team. You know what I mean? We made 200 million, and it took us a couple years and the studio to do it. It just, the math's not there. It's simple math.
Right. Yeah.
So they're going to probably invest in games like Forbidden West and the new God of War, because those are their big IPs that are going to sell enough copies to outweigh the development cost enough and to bring people into the PlayStation ecosystem. But these kind of middle range Days Gone games, and I'm not insulting Days Gone, but the sequel was not greenlit for a reason. They had a sequel. It wasn't approved, right? There's a reason for that.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If people allow themselves to look to think critical and not, get wrapped up in the whole fanboy side of everything, think critical about it.
Yeah.
It's not hard to figure out why the things that happen. It really isn't.
Simplest thing there is, right?
And I was like, if you guys had a business, and you're trying to run it and you ran it off of your heart and soul feelings on how somebody reacts to you on social media, you're going to be out of business. And that's just the reality of it.
But that's what they expect, dude.
Yeah.
It's literally, and this is going to be a terrible analogy, but we're going to run with it. I'm drinking. Screw it.
Let's do it.
This is like a fast food joint saying, we have these awesome French fries, but we only sell it to you if you're under 30 years old. And, a 32-year-old coming in saying, I want some French fries, and them saying, no, I'm sorry. You're just not in our market. And it's like, but why? Why would we not be? And that's the tens and tens, if not over 100 million people on Steam have shown, just put the game there. We're going to buy it. As Nick said, the Xbox was one of the top publishers on Steam for the past couple of years with games that, are just Sea of Thieves is crushing it. Forza, you already named it. Halo Master Chief Collection, a game from 2014, was the top selling game on Steam for like weeks.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And Master Chief Collection on Steam, or on PC specifically, I think is over 10 million users.
Right.
So
that's unbelievable, man.
It's a no-brainer where it makes sense. And the thing is like, I remember I wrote a report in 2017 because PlayStation hired across Sucker Punch, Naughty Dog, and Sony Santa Monica. They hired specifically for NVIDIA-based testers and analysts to start doing development work in these studios. And I went, Sony's going to branch out into PC. And people are like, no, Sony would never do PC games. It devalues the console. They would never see a future with it. And I'm like, but they're hiring NVIDIA architect specialists. They're not, it's for the next generation PlayStation. But I'm like, but it's probably going to be AMD. But fuck me, what do I know?
But you see, you're thinking again. You're thinking broad,
Right.
and the market. You're not this closed-minded person that says, "I have a console. You have to only make games for me." That's not how business works. And the only reason you get games like God of War and Horizon and these big games is because they're profitable. You want PlayStation to be more profitable because they're going to give you better games.
Yeah,
it's so
no, man, no,
so
we
obvious.
We don't want them to. We don't want them to be profitable, man. Fuck them. Why should they be profitable? No.
No,
No,
I have to dunk on Bleed Green 247 on Twitter. You know, it's more important to me than getting this beautiful game I want to play. You know?
you listen. If I don't get my pat on the back from a guy with 7 followers today, I might not make it through today.
Right. Oh, so dumb, man. So
but
stupid.
you know, speaking of companies that just aren't delivering me the games I want anymore, apparently EA is going to be revealing something that we're all going to want. Apparently, so this originally started as a tease from Jeff Grubb, who is notorious for teasing whatever pops into his head and kind of goes with it.
What pops out of his head is out of his ass. I'm sorry.
EA Motive was working on an established IP, which then Eurogamer came out and corroborated in a subsequent story, and then a bunch of other people decided to jump in and verify that they had heard similar things. They said the game would be revealed July 22nd at the EA Play Live. Naturally, speculation has already begun to go absolutely hog wild, with many latching on to Grubb saying, "We're going to see it if we're not dead first." Many have taken this meaning that the revival will be the long dormant Dead Space, although Grubb has playfully teased fans' guesses on Twitter. So EA Motive, for people's reference, is the development studio that did Star Wars Squadron last year.
Yeah.
And they have a pretty good track record, I would say, with their stuff. So that would be interesting. It would have to be a reimagining of Dead Space, because anyone that played Dead Space 3, and specifically the DLC, knows that world's done. Like, period, end of story. That series had a very concise ending.
Yeah.
So whether it's another story told within that universe or wherever the case may be, remains to be seen. We obviously won't have to wait long. We only got to wait a month to find out whether, there's any factuality to this or not. But if it was something, what are you guys kind of hoping for? Like, what do you guys want this to be?
I'm in the what everyone else wants. I'm in the Dead Space camp. I love Dead Space. I love horror games in general. I thought Dead Space, especially 1 and 2, not so much 3, but especially 1 and 2 were incredibly well done and just unique in the horror space. I thought the original idea of Isaac and, the mining facility and kind of the aliens and the way you could attack them, I just really enjoyed that franchise. And, it's weird, right? You see IPs like this, which are hugely popular, and I don't know any sales figures for Dead Space, so I don't know if it was, huge for them in terms of that, like we were just talking about, bottom line. But there's a love there for sure, and it's a franchise that I think just has so much potential, and you just hate to see it sit on the shelf. So, I hope there is something to this. You're right, Nick. There's been other places now that have corroborated this. Gamatsu ran with it as well, which I know Mo and I actually were talking about just either yesterday or this morning. So I'm excited. I hope it's Dead Space. That's me.
Yeah.
What about you, Mo?
Yep.
Yeah, I was never. I just started getting into the whole horror game thing again, because I was a big pussy from before. But but the thing is Dead Space, the Dead Space games, I loved them, right? So I was able to play those, and I played 1 and 2, and I thought they're some of the best freaking games of that generation, by far. They were amazing, and then 2 just amplified it even more. And I do believe that if they're going to come out with anything, it has to be that, right? What is a beloved EA IP that people are waiting for, according to what Grubb is saying?
Anthem 2.0, baby.
Exactly. You know, if it's not going to be Anthem, me
Army of
personally,
two, Army of
I would-
two, Army of
Yeah.
two.
can you fucking imagine if they said Army of Two?
Yeah, that would be EA. EA would do that.
Oh my god. Oh my! I don't even want to think about that.
They would absolutely do that.
I liked Army of Two, but it is far from a beloved EA IP. You know, like I'm talking like on a mass scale. Yeah, it had a lot of fans. It was fun. It was a fun game. But what Ains was saying, so he said it right, and then Eurogamer corroborated it, and then Gamatsu also corroborated it. But Gamatsu was the ones. They were the publication that actually said that this is going to be a reimagining. And for, we were talking about, is this going to be a reimagining? Is it going to be just a remaster? Before they said it. Is this going to be a remaster or just like you said initially, like, is it going to be Dead Space 4? You can't do Dead Space 4 because there's a generation of gamers right now who never played Dead Space. If you want to introduce them to that franchise, you have to reimagine it. I mean, it's just like Final Fantasy Remake, right? There's a lot of people who never played Final Fantasy 7. So how do you have to reimagine the whole thing, and you have to bring it and make it more appealing to the current group of gamers who would be willing to actually try something out like that. And I think if it's a reimagining, as long as they stick to what made the first two, emphasis on the first two, as long as they stick to what made the first two great, then I think it's gonna do really well for them, man. Especially now, people are really eating up survival horror games. Whether it's Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil Village, whatever the hell it is. So I think it would fit right in. And I think Ains too. I think the series died because 3 was just it wasn't received well.
It wasn't the same.
It just wasn't the same.
A terrible game. It just wasn't the same.
See, Dead Space 3 the way that it died is kind of like the same way of what happened with God of War, right? Like, I mean, because they did 1 and then they did 2, and then 2 was just so incredible, like, I mean, just to meet that same bar with 3 was going to be hard. God of War 3 was an excellent game. It depends on who you talk to, right? Like, a lot of people still consider, like, the original trilogy, they consider 2 to be the best. Some will tell you 3 is the best. But the point is like, at least they sustained it. But once Ascension came out, which was a prequel, that's when people are like, meh.
I was done. I was like, I don't want this anymore.
Yeah, me too. And I'm a huge fan of the series. So after that, that's when they were kind of like, all right, they shelved it. But at least, like, they brought that back. Whereas, like, Dead Space just didn't. So
yeah, I'll just say if we get if in a single year we get Resident Evil Village, which was excellent, and then we get Silent Hill, Dead Space coming back, and Callisto Protocol, which has a ton of potential. Oh man, I'm gonna be a happy guy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gonna be crazy, man. Just at the but let's see, dude. I mean, we're all signs are pointing to it, but like you guys said, you never fucking know. They could just come out and just fuck us and just say like, "Hey, we're bringing back what you asked for, Army of Two."
No, man, no.
Skate remake.
We are gonna will it into existence.
My man.
I don't have that one.
My man.
I don't have it.
Gotta get it, man.
He's hitting eBay and Mercari tonight,
dude. It's going up on the screen right now. You're not even lying.
Amazon ain't, and it's actually pretty cheap. Very cheap, actually.
Really, I'm not joking. I got a $50 Amazon gift card for Father's Day, so you guys talk amongst yourselves.
So no, I want Dead Space because I know it won't be NBA Street. They'll never go back to NBA Street.
I wish it,
NBA Street and NFL Street, man. Great,
man. I can't understand this. Like, I know EA Big isn't around anymore, but I'm like, as popular as the NBA is right now, you're leaving it over to NBA Ballers.
Mm-hmm. It's fucking terrible.
Hey! NBA Playgrounds is a fucking legendary.
What I say, Ballers on the Playground.
NBA Ballers.
Sucks, Nick, it was legendary for you because your first role, you got Steph Curry and who else did you get?
LeBron James.
I
got LeBron James and Steph Curry.
Yeah, you got the cheat code, like your first roll out of the game, man.
You got the God roll.
Yeah. So it was like cake for you at that point. But no, man, I want Dead Space. That's about it.
I'm not even joking. It's $25, first of all.
Yeah, hardcover.
It's 50% off when you buy 2.
Oh, wow.
Art books. All right.
Yeah.
We're doing this.
So Ains, yeah, being that it was that deal, so I got Resident Evil Biohazard.
Okay. I think I may have that one.
And then I also got...
What else you got? See, I'm not a big Spider-Man guy. That's cool though. That's
but those
very
are the two. But look for those some of those other books you haven't grabbed yet, because that's what I was doing. I've pretty much gotten a good majority of the ones I wanted so far.
Nice, dude.
You know, because I remember that Metal Gear one, Nick. I got it that time when it was on sale. Like, all right, I got to get this one.
Mm-hmm.
See, Canada Amazon sucks. It'll be like for perfect example, there was like the Metal Gear Solid art collection. It's like an 800-page book or some big ass shit like that, and it's like, oh, it's like $30 American. I go to Amazon.ca and it's like, oh, you can buy for $300 regular price if you want. I'm like, well,
oh my god, dude.
I'm just like, you know what? I deserve this. I don't know what I did to deserve this, but I deserve this.
The Dark Souls community, man. Every art book's like $20-$30. Dark Souls $80. Like, God, come on.
Yeah, because like I missed out on the compendium or whatever it was, and that thing's like $400 now.
Yes.
I'm like,
Jesus,
bitch,
man.
Yeah. I was like, damn it. So
yeah, no. In terms of this Dead Space, I think it has to be Dead Space, because it's that only IP where there's a question mark with EA right now. Like, you know, we know what's going on with Mass Effect. We know what's going on with Dragon Age. Now, what'll be interesting for me is if they do a reimagining with the success of the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, I have to wonder if they do a Dead Space collection at some point to catch in on that. Because, like, those are good games. Also,
dude, and after the success so far of like Mass Effect Legendary, I would think they're definitely considering that stuff now.
I got Dead Space by accident because I traded in. I had this absolute Joker. This is the same Joker that I talked about a few episodes ago. That I went after I bought Skyrim and said I really enjoyed Skyrim. He recommended me Dark Souls. This same absolute Joker of a human being told me. I traded in, I can't remember what the game was. It was like some third-person cover shooter that was totally forgettable. I traded it in, and he's like, oh, man, you like third-person shooters? I'm like, I love third-person shooters. He's like, man, you got to buy Dead Space. And I was like, cool, I'll buy Dead Space. No idea going into that was a horror game. Literally shit my pants the first 10 minutes into that one. As soon as the lights go out and that one person gets gored, I was like, oh no.
It's all gone horribly wrong.
Yeah. Dead Space was another one of those good surprise games. Like, it didn't have like a whole lot of hype, you know, when it released, and then it's like it just word of mouth like took off. Like, everyone was like, oh, you gotta play this game, you have to. Because I was the same way. Like, I kind of stumbled upon it and I was like, holy shit, like, I didn't know about this.
Yeah, I didn't play it right at launch either. Same thing. But by the time I played the first one, the second one, I still have the collector's edition for the second one with the mini laser gun.
Yes.
You know,
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Well, we will see soon. And well, not soon enough. It's a month away, but we'll find out. It'll be like a CGI. I'm calling it now. It'll be a CGI cutscene, and it'll be like Dead Space, and then that'll be it, and we won't hear about it for another 3 fucking years.
Man, fuck that. They might as well not even announce it if that's the case. You know, honestly, fuck that. That's such a blue balls move, man.
Well, speaking of blue, we've got the last kind of news topic to go over here, and this has been a fucking journey this past week, and there's no way around calling it other than a journey in terms of how fast this is snowballed from a handful of minor things to some of the, like, we are hitting 9/11 and JFK assassination level conspiracy theories with this stuff at this point. I'm wholeheartedly like, there was people that were basically like, well, when that developer was talking, you know, Kojima was holding him at gunpoint. I'm like, I can't tell if they're joking or serious at this point. And like, I think that's the whole discourse around this, the thing that disturbs me the most is I can't tell how serious people are with this. Like, I want to believe that this is a good-natured joke that everyone's partaking in, and if it turns into being something big, that's awesome. But if it turns out to be a whole gag, we're just gonna laugh it off, and it's gonna roll off. But it's hit a point now where some people are so deep into this that I fear for the actual outcome of this. And my fears for this have kind of been enhanced a lot more. So I'm not going to try to timeline this thing, because trying to timeline this thing is like you're going to be like that gif of the guy with the fucking conspiracy board with the crazy hand. Trying to fucking piece this shit together is insane. But my timeline of involvement with it was talking with a few friends on an Xbox party about how crazy it would be if this was a Kojima game. All the weird nuances, like the translation to Turkish, meaning Hideo, and all these other like small little nuances to it. So me and my friend Ivan decided to start deep diving into it. We started doing developer pages. We started looking into their past games. We started back searching all their employees they had listed and everything else. And we started finding discrepancies, so to speak, in terms of what information was being presented and how it was being presented. The big one is that their website was being reworked, so their website's down. But if you pull up their website in the preview search, it teases a new early access game, not called Abandoned. It's called, I don't have the report pulled up. It's like Haunting or Haunted or whatever. And it's their prior game that they released on Steam. And it's reportedly entering early access on PlayStation 5 and coming to Xbox Series consoles and Xbox One, PS4 later this summer. Now, that in itself is kind of eye-raising enough because PlayStation doesn't have an early access program as it stands right now. PlayStation has historically, as far as I know, never released an early access game. So this would be, quote unquote, the first. Some other irregularities come up with is that this game switched developers, but now they're publishing it on PS5. There's just a lot of intricacies that are just missing for this to make sense. The biggest glaring one being that in Holland specifically, or the Netherlands, business law requires you that you cannot make a proxy company like this. It has to have real people. It has to be a real company. You can't do any of the Moby Dick Games stuff that Kojima did with Metal Gear Solid 5 in Netherlands, just due to their legal system itself. So I published a report just kind of detailing all this kind of stuff that there is, and the fact that The Haunting is available to wishlist on PS5 right now. You can search it. It's there. Blue Box Games publishes it. It's there. It exists. Everything else. Now, the reason why I think this has gone from harmless fun to something dangerous is, unfortunately, this piece I did ended up on Reddit, which we all know Reddit is an absolutely wonderful, wonderful place to be. I had to turn my DMs off because people decide threatening me, threatening my children, trying to back search me, and going the whole extra mile. And with no exaggeration, I had about 62 message requests in the first 8 hours of publishing that article. So this is my fear with this. If this is an ad campaign and it's not Silent Hill and it's not Kojima, I seriously fear for the safety of Blue Box's team. I don't think anything would actually happen, but the internet backlash of people, I fear for, because I understand people wanting to believe it, but now that the fact that they've come out 4 times to say this isn't a Kojima game and this isn't a Silent Hill game, and all the internet seems to do with this is go, sure, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, sure. And seeing people like Jeff Keighley kind of egg on the rumors a little bit and everything else, it feels like we're in a dangerous game territory. I feel like a lot of people aren't being responsible with their audiences. Like the fact that even Jason Schreier posted a report going, well, this is basically debunked now because this is what the guy said, to then follow up a tweet and go, Well, actually, not really. People are driving this for traffic. I just think it's become an overall dangerous game to play because it's not that there's people that can take this as a joke, people can take this as marketing and everything else. But there's a subsection of the game community that a lot of content creators tap into that take every word as holy scriptures, every little bit of information as fact. And if that comes out as non-factual, they just lash out at the first nearest thing they can find. And it's never that content creator, it's the people that rumor circulated about. So my general wrap up, I'll let you guys discuss this whole thing, whether you guys believe it, you don't believe it, wherever the case may be. My general complaint with this whole thing has been the lack of responsibility from people with large platforms in circulating and spreading this news as anything but rumor and, just general misinformation at this point. Is like you have a responsibility if you have a platform to be truthful in your reporting, and that sometimes you have to say, well, this is what I think, but this is based on what I see right now, and nobody's doing that. They're going, this is the situation, and I hate that kind of cut and stone style of reporting because it's just dangerous in my opinion.
You don't want to pull my cord on that one. Yeah, I mean, I know, Nick, even you and I personally have joked about, or not even joked, but talked about this before, that people with platforms just being irresponsible. So that's not surprising, even in the slightest. As you said, there's people running with it purely for clicks at this point, because it has blown up so big. I'm just gonna jump in because I know Mo is itching to jump in on this, and he's gonna say a lot more than me. I will say I haven't followed it closely, so I don't know all the details like you do, Nick, or you do, Mo. Eric, I don't know where you are on this.
I'm about where you are.
Yeah, I'm just outside looking in like, okay, if this happens, cool. If not, whatever. It does, to me, at least on the very surface level, feel like this was a miscommunication or some type of, people are running with far more than it seems it should be. But I guess we'll see. I don't have a whole lot to say on it. As I said when we were joking prior to the show, whatever Kojima is doing, great. Whatever this team is doing, I'll definitely check it out. I just want Silent Hill. I don't care who makes it. Do I think this team and this supposed publishing studio is making Silent Hill? No, I don't. I would think there'd be at least more concrete evidence that people like Nick, people, to a lesser degree, others in the community who can really kind of get some true information from behind the scenes, would have on this if that were real. And we're not seeing that. Irregularities be damned. We're just not seeing evidence that this is Silent Hill from the small group. So, no, I'm not thinking too much of it. I wish them the best. To Nick's point, that could be why they're trying to come out like, what is his name? Hassan came out, right? And is trying to double down on, look, we're just a small team. We're trying to make a game we love, whether or not you believe that or not, right? It could be why they're doing that. To Nick's point is, look, we don't want to launch a game that we want to be successful and everyone is just pissed off at us because they thought we were doing something else. So who knows? But yeah, I haven't thought much about it beyond that.
Like, let me and Mo, before you go, let me ask Nick the question. Did this really hit the gas when they kind of tweeted about our game starts in S and ends in L? Is that when it really took off, or was it like kind of before that? Because to me, that seems to be where they kind of stepped in the shit a little bit, like not knowing how this whole social media thing works.
So, to a couple of nuances to this. Is, when the game was first revealed, people thought it was Kojima. I don't know why, but literally the day the PlayStation blog posted this, everyone got on the train that was Kojima right off the bat. Because it was PlayStation working with a no-name indie studio that no one had heard of, and that obviously had to mean it was Hideo Kojima. They debunked that the same day, going, no, this is Blue Box Games. They're an independent developer that we're excited to partner with, blah, 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 blah. It was debunked right off the first day. And then they started talking a bit more on the social feeds and everything else. And the biggest thing that's kind of weird with Blue Box is they'll tweet things and delete them. Like when I started paying attention to Blue Box Games, when they reveal an announcement, all of their tweet replies were people replying about the game they launched in early access on Steam, and were people going, "Why is your game so broken? Why aren't you guys fixing it? Why aren't you patching it?" But they've gone through and curated and deleted any past history of any development they did, which is admittedly a little weird. There's so much that's a red flag with this, and like I've even seen conspiracy theories that like this game isn't even a game, and it's like I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with Cooking Mama. When Cooking Mama released on Nintendo Switch, there was actually crypto mining built into the game, and it used your Nintendo Switch to crypto mine data off of through using your Nintendo Switch as a proxy thing. And a lot of people are looking at the fact that this game's being revealed through an external application, and kind of it's making people raise their eyebrows that way. But like I said, you can go all over the place with this, but the main hyperbole that has developed is the tweet they put out where they were like, our game starts with S and ends in L. And the reason why that drove so much hyperbole is because up to this point, we knew the game as abandoned.
Yeah. No, I
don't have that kind of time for like
yeah.
for like that kind of level of conspiracy theory. And yeah, Nick,
What?
kudos to you, man, for like putting it all together and knowing this is people have too much fucking time on their hands.
And Kojima was just in Summer Game Fest because Keighley, of course, went nuts, right, when he got Kojima on the screen. But Kojima presented director's cut of Death Stranding, right, for PS5.
Right.
And then in the little short clip where he was very vague, of course, but he was talking about he needs years he's trying the new creative space and new ways of thinking. And it's going to be a while before we see his new project. Don't know what that's got to do with anything.
This whole thing from the beginning was weird. Why people thought it was Kojima from the beginning was because Sony dedicated a tweet, right? If Sony puts out like a tweet about a specific game or a specific announcement for something, especially when it's a singular and it's by itself, that kind of like that raises some eyebrows and it brings some attention to it. So, but because of the vague nature of the announcement itself, and like you said, just that fucking video where they were just showing like these this realistic scenery outside in the forest or whatever it was, people are like, what the hell is this shit? Right. And that's why, like, because of how vague the announcement was, that's probably what led to people just running away with this theory that this is probably Kojima dicking around, like the whole Moby Dick Studios thing that he did from before. The problem is, I don't necessarily think if this is Kojima, but there's a lot of weird shit about it that's just not making sense. And the reason why is because of Sony's history. I was telling you guys before the show, right? Sony's very frugal when it comes to their PR. Right, they fucking have a very tight ship. Like when they have a very tight ship when it comes to like what to announce or what to say or whatever it was. If you have a studio that's making a game specifically for your game, why the fuck are you okay with a studio or with the studio head or the creative director or whoever it is coming out and putting out a tweet and saying like, "Hey, this is me." Right? Like, this is me. I'm confirming my identity. I'm confirming who I am. It sounds so fucking weird, to be honest with you. And then second of all, a game, if they published a game that was broken on Steam, right? And he said that he had a failed Kickstarter that raised like, what, did you say $212? Why is Sony, okay, which is the number one leader in gaming right now, why are they going to pick up some fucking guy, give him a $250,000 budget for a game nobody knows about, give him that kind of platform on it, and there's absolutely zero pedigree behind him? If you look at Firewalk Studios or that new studio Deviation, or you look at Haven, at least there's pedigree behind it. There's industry people there's people that have worked in the industry. They have made games. Or like Deviation, guys that worked on it at Treyarch, or guys that have worked on whatever. What has this guy done besides a broken fucking Steam game and a $212 failed Kickstarter campaign for him to deserve this kind of attention, or for him to deserve this kind of platform? I'm not downplaying the guy. I hope whatever it is very successful. This is why it's so weird, because it's so out of the ordinary for anything that they have done before, especially for a game or a studio that's affiliated with them or associated with them. It just doesn't make sense. And then, then people are like finding all this shit, whether, okay, maybe it's just the greatest coincidence of all time about his last name in Turkish translating to Hideo in Japanese, like that's got to be like the greatest coincidence of all time. Or somebody today I saw, or something today on Twitter, something about, like all of a sudden, like Konami wakes up and they put out like their Silent Hill merchandise. Like they announce more Silent Hill merchandise or whatever it is. And then like people show like screenshots of what fucking director, okay, or a creative director has the time to DM on just some random fan and give him details about the game. You guys have seen those screenshots.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, is it Silent Hill? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't say. Really? Really? You know what I'm saying? This is what I'm talking about. It's so fucking weird. It doesn't have to be Silent Hill. It doesn't have to be Kojima, but there's something there. And to be honest with you, this is some whole fucking hoax about this stupid fucking cooking mama, whatever the hell it is you're talking about. I highly doubt they would even ever let it get this far. It's not necessarily Silent Hill or Kojima, but there's something that they're just not saying, because this is so out of the ordinary for anything that they do, with any partnership or studio or whatever. Can you imagine somebody like, I don't know, fucking Corey Barlog dropping a DM for him like, hey, bro, how's the game? Well, I can't really tell you that, bro. I mean, it's just weird, man. The whole thing is weird.
Let me pose this to you. So one of our staff writers over at Lords of Gaming, Gene, he does some really, really great work. He's been kind of posting his kind of general thoughts about, what he thinks the direction is. And one of the things that he posted was, I'll quote his tweet directly. If I had to place a bet right now on what this Blue Box thing is I would guess it's a 4-game collection of Silent Hill games with PT added in, just like the recent Castlevania collections leaks. I'm talking straight ports with an ill-fated ARG marketing campaign that was supposed to end with PT's original marketing. Disconnected and unrelated from Kojima, everyone wins. Silent Hill is super expensive on any platform right now, and PT was pulled from PSN. Konami has been doing these collections, and now a new line of Silent Hill merch went up last night/Sunday, but only some of the items with new logos and key art. A small indie studio working in partnership with PlayStation to redo a handful of Silent Hill games. I could see it. Reusing a marketing campaign that they might have wanted to use for PT. If they already had it drafted up, I could see it. It seems way more viable than half the shit floating around right now.
I want somebody to confirm this, because I saw it on Twitter. Apparently there were screenshots, but I couldn't really tell. Apparently the Kojima Studios Facebook account either liked or posted something regarding to the Silent Hill merchandise on Facebook. So if somebody can see that, I don't know if that's going to be even possible or not, but apparently like that's what they said. And then I'm like, okay, why the fuck is Kojima Studios going to even be doing something, anything remotely related to Konami right now, considering what happened with them, and the way that their relationship ended. So I again, bro, this whole thing is just, it's so weird, man. It's so weird. Like, if anything, I want to know because it's out of the ordinary. I'm convinced it's not Kojima, blah, 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 whatever. Like, he did the whole Moby Dick Studios thing. Yesterday, I went back to the Moby Dick Studios account on Twitter, and I retweeted something that they had put out from 2013, right? And if you really look at that tweet, it's in like the same it's in the same tone, right, as the shit that we're getting right now from Blue Box itself, right? Like they said something like about Phantom Pain, or what is Phantom? I forgot exactly what it was, but I just looked at it. I'm like, this is actually very funny. It's very funny because the tone is very similar, at least. So
see, the big thing is that Kojima is a master artist of deception. He thinks it's all part of the fun of it all.
Yeah.
So I'll always give him credit for that. But the thing is he's not nearly this good at it.
Yeah.
Because Moby Dick games, people figured out Metal Gear like 2 days after that reveal.
Mm-hmm.
And like with PT, people figured that out within like 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. Like there was no wash around. People were like, yeah, this is Silent Hill. This is what Kojima's working on next. He's never had something go on this long, but there has to be something to it, because I can't see PlayStation PR letting an indie developer just go off and talk all this shit.
That's exactly what I'm
endlessly.
saying. It's weird. It's fucking weird.
Mhm.
Like they don't even let their own first party studios have this kind of fucking this kind of freedom, you know, in terms of PR, you know, like I mean, so I can't imagine. It's just like, all right, yeah, go ahead, say whatever you want. Like, I mean,
no. Hey, I'm gonna say this too, man. Like, I'm a Kojima fan. Like, I like Metal Gear and all that stuff. Not a stan, but a fan.
Yeah.
But the one thing people cannot say, and they keep saying it, is he's irrelevant. He's overrated. He's this because nobody stirs up the community the way Kojima does. If whether you hate him or love him, he's always in a conversation in some way.
Yep.
Right. To the point where I really believe a lot of this is born out of the fact that the rumors have been that he's going to work with Xbox on something, and now PlayStation guys want to hold. Oh my God, it has to be something we're holding on to it. I'm serious. All this boils down to some console war bullshit.
Well,
more than likely.
It's fun. It's funny you bring that up because there's actually been stuff that's been popping up on Reset Era as factual reasons to why it's Kojima and PlayStation, and it's it's all tied together. It's been actually people have been fabricating stuff out the yin yang to support their own conclusions. Like there's one where it's like someone fabricated that Konami was following Kojima again, and I'm like. I'm like, the thing is in this constant flow of information, and what people still don't seem to realize, and I don't know why people didn't realize this during our whole political swing of the past 4 fucking years and beyond, is how fucking easy it is to lie to people and have them believe it at face value without doing any form of back checking at all. And that's the thing is like, there's so much about this shit that doesn't make sense on both sides of it, whether it was true or false. Like Hassan's whole thing of we have $250,000 as our budget. I'm like, okay, I know tons of indie games have been made for way less than that, but not an open world game, not 50 employees working for the past few years.
Open world game at 4K 60.
It's not even the resolution for me. It's the open world game for under $250,000 is what's throwing me for a loop.
But that's the thing. How much optimization and manpower it needs to do something like that on the new consoles. The other thing too, I'm going to mention that we were talking about before the show started, Nuari Studios. Okay, if you look them up on Twitter, Nuari Studios' last tweet was 4 days ago. And they put a picture of a blue box. Blue box comments underneath it. Thanks for the awesome work, guys. If you go to the Nuari Studio website, it's an art outsourcing studio. So they outsource art for a lot of games. And I was telling you guys before this show started, this is a studio that has made art for Avengers, Halo Infinite, Ghost of Tsushima, The Last of Us Part 2, Death Stranding, Doom, Destiny 2, Spider-Man, Days Gone, Fallout 76. You're talking about some of the biggest fucking AAA games that we've seen over the past 5 to 10 years. So a studio with a $250,000 budget is going to fucking use a studio like them you're going to outsource art? What the fuck are you outsourcing to begin with? So again, this is why it's so weird. Like this is what I'm talking about. Why is this studio that's making art, that's outsourcing art for all of these big projects, going to suddenly look at this little fucking fart sack of a project and be like, I think this will work. It's just weird. It's all weird.
See, here you go. Once again, shout out to Gene for having a tweet that kind of sums all this up. We've worked with, at LogNet, we've worked with hundreds of indie studios, 0 of which have had backing from Sony. All of them have had fully functioning websites, don't use stock images for their staff, have industry backgrounds, don't have the ability to release a PS5 application, never mention games or IPs unrelated to them, don't tweet in the middle of the night, don't lie about team size and budget, don't keep the info on their games to 2 people in the media, don't tease their games as S ending with L when people stop talking about them, and don't play Dreams and 1,100 hours of Call of Duty, actually release games, don't play games on PSN that don't exist, and don't use the same font as Sony for their company logo.
So they're saying that they've done art that was outsourced to them for all these games.
No.
Oh, I thought you were talking. I thought that's what you were saying. Noir.
No. What I'm stating is
No. This is the guy from Lognet.
Yeah,
oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I misunderstood that.
This
okay.
is basically saying that all these anomalies don't match up with what PlayStation's requirements are to work with a partner.
Which is exactly why I keep saying it's fucking weird.
But
it's so outside of the normal.
The most believable theory I saw that once again, due to Dutch laws, can't happen is that Kojima Productions has a satellite studio in Amsterdam that has 62 people. And people are like, oh, so Blue Box with their 50 plus people is just Kojima Productions in Amsterdam. And I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. But legally, they can't physically do that. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the fuck this is. Maybe it's Kojima with a mustache. Maybe it's like more of a mustache.
The other thing that just to throw another wrench in here that Miles reminded me of just this morning or yesterday is that if you look at this official Silent Hill account, right, it only follows 25 people in the world, and 4 of them are Xbox executives. Yeah, including Phil Spencer, Aaron Greenberg, Larry Erb, the Xbox account. It follows PlayStation, but no one else, in the community or in the industry outside of Xbox executives. And that only started last year, I think.
It doesn't even follow Herman Hulst.
No, that's what I mean.
It doesn't follow Herman Hulst. It doesn't follow Shuhei Yoshida. It doesn't follow any of them. So, yeah.
Yeah, people are going to be real silent come, summer. But, that's something we can talk about. Luckily enough, no one's going to fucking clip that and put that on Reset Era, so I'm safe.
Like I said before, I just want Silent Hill. Just give me Silent Hill.
Yeah, see, this is the thing. We'll wrap up this discussion point on this.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever Blue Box is making, whatever the fuck it is, I'll check it out just for the fact that they put everyone through this whole thing.
Sure.
I don't even care. Like, I had no interest when they revealed Abandoned. I was like, oh, cool. Okay, whatever. And I moved on with my life. And now with all this other bullshit and everything else around it, I need to play it. Whatever the fuck it is. I don't care if it's fucking Barbie Dreamhouse 4 with fucking Alien versus Predator combat mechanics. I'll play it. I'll figure it out. I'll play it. But it's definitely going to go down as one of the weirdest marketing campaigns, no matter how it turns out at this point, that we've ever seen. But at this point,
whatever,
crazy.
bro.
Basically. We'll wait and see. So our final discussion is, everyone's, slapping Silent Hill into the little tiny blue box. What's an IP that you guys would love to see come back? And who's the developer that you would love to see do that IP? We did this game on the show back in 2018, and I said that I wanted to see Baldur's Gate 3 done by Larian Studios, and it actually happened. So be careful of the energy and power that comes with this podcast, because Eric can delay games as well. So just be careful with what you wish for.
But it only works if Sam is here too. It's like a dual power thing,
Yeah,
my power isn't as strong without
one of twin powers activate.
Exactly.
Mo, do you have one readily in mind?
Yeah, I want Splinter Cell. I don't give a fuck who makes it.
Yeah, because Ubisoft isn't planning on doing it. So hey,
I'll be honest with you. Like that's like my top. It's Splinter Cell. Like, I mean, by far, it's I don't care who makes it, as long as it's somebody who's actually competent and knows their stealth games. It's like, as far as the studio off the top of my head, who am I going to tell you? Ubisoft Montreal. Who are the OGs? Yeah, sure. That would be nice, But if fucking 90% of the studio hasn't already moved on to greener pastures already from the original Splinter Cell team, So it doesn't matter to me, man. I just want Splinter Cell, honestly. That's all I want. As for which studio, I don't care. Just a good studio. I sort of do.
See, I've constantly been wishing for a Splinter Cell game, but Ubisoft is making games in such a way now that if they announced Splinter Cell, I'd probably fucking cry. Because like one of the games I mulled over in my head was Ghost Recon, but not made by Ubisoft, so it'd still be good.
Yeah, same shit.
But Eric, what about you? What's an IP you want to see come back?
I have a few, but I'm gonna go because I've been in Castlevania mode. I'm gonna stick with Castlevania. Okay.
Mhm.
Now I have two studios in mind for two different reasons. If they're gonna do a 2D, I would love to see Moon Studio do something with Castlevania. If they want to do a 3D, I think given more funding, I think Asobo would be a pretty cool studio to see what they could do with a Castlevania game.
I would give you that. Yeah. Asobo, yeah.
Because you kind of look at some of the tone of like a Plague's Tale or whatever, like, so imagine them playing with that lore in that world. So that's at least one of them.
You just made me think of one that I've joked about with some friends before. Is if you gave 3D again, to your point, Castlevania, and give it to From Software, I'm like, I am in.
Man. Funny you should say that. My friend is a huge Castlevania fan, right? And he's looking at Bloodborne. He goes, "Oh man, that looks like Castlevania. Should I play that?" I was like, "You're not gonna want to play Bloodborne. He's not that type. He's not hardcore like us. I was like, bro. I said, yes, it has all the makings of what you would want, but you are gonna get like 10 minutes into that game and call me cursing me out. No, don't do it. Just watch videos of it or something.
Yes, watch it.
Oh man, yeah, but yeah, from with the Castlevania game, yeah.
Yeah, I have two that I usually talk about. Studios is tougher, right? It's easy to think of IPs you want to come back. Trying to think of a studio to go with it. So the first one is Phantasy Star, the actual RPG, not online. I would love to see that come back. Now, who is a really tough question there because you're going back into the Sega archives of who made those games special originally, right? And even then, when you think about modern games from those people, someone like Yuji Naka, they're not what they used to be. So if we're throwing just random things, I'll say Phantasy Star from Sakaguchi, of Final Fantasy fame. Let's see what they can do mesh together with the budget. The only other one I got to bring it to gaming perspective that I preach about all the time, and they still haven't done it for me, is Banjo-Kazooie. For God's sakes, give me Banjo-Kazooie. A proper Banjo 3E that we've been asking for 15 years. Playtonic did a pretty good job with Ukulele. But again, small studio, small budget, right? So if I had to think about it, I'd say like a Banjo-Kazooie proper either reboot or you can do 3. But Playtonic with, acquired by Xbox and funded, like given the time and money that Double Fine's been given with Psychonauts, right? Like allow them the support and studio talent to really realize the vision.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Mine is an easy slam dunk for me. I would love to see Arcane Leon absolutely tackle Fear.
Oof.
Because Fear was the original Fear. Another game series where it got progressively worse the more you played the series. The original Fear was a fantastic FPS game with a great dose of atmosphere and horror, and was the graphical standpoint of gaming for a very long time in terms of lighting and everything else. So I would love to see Fear be remade with the level of detail that Arcane brings and the level of immersion and horror that they could bring with the mechanics they already kind of know how to use. Especially after the fact, I know a lot of people didn't like Wolfenstein's Youngblood, but that does give them a pedigree of understanding more about FPS mechanics. But Fear is unfortunately in that dead IP somewhere.
And it's funny, Nick, that you mentioned
I don't
Wolfenstein.
think I see Warner Brothers. Yeah.
No, go ahead. I mean to cut you off.
Oh, like Fear is in the basement of Monolith Studios, buried with Warner Brothers. So I really have no hope of that IP ever coming back in a meaningful way, because God knows what Monolith's working on, but it's probably not that.
Right, but you mentioned like Wolfenstein Youngblood, and I was not a fan of it, even though I'm a huge fan of Arcane. I'm a huge fan of Machine and everything, but that game had me thinking I'm going to go back to Konami again because they're sitting on all these great IP that they won't do anything with. But I was like, imagine what Machine could do with Contra.
Ooh. You know, that's an IP I haven't thought about in a long time, and that's an IP that you could absolutely go to town with.
They can just go ape shit with that, man. Just go nuts,
The only other IP that I'd love to see come back, and this is in a world where it would never happen just due to how sensitive people are in the online space, is I would love to see Tim Schafer and company take on Conkers. I would absolutely pay money to see what a Tim Schafer-led Conker's Bad Fur Day revival would look like.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah.
But I do not think we exist in the social media era where that IP could come back without torching everything to the ground.
It will never fucking happen.
No, that would be cancel culture 101. Oh my God. Yeah.
What, are you telling me a profane, womanizing, drunk squirrel is inappropriate in 2021?
The moment Conker bounces off a corn cob's boobs, it's a wrap. It's done.
Yeah. That's fair.
I think I still have my N64 box copy sitting over there on the shelf.
Oh man. That game was something, man.
Classic.
I was like, I can't believe we're playing this game. This is crazy.
Yeah, I remember my mom bought that for me when I was like, let's say 8, maybe 9. Because she was like, oh, it's a cute little cartoon squirrel. What's the worst that could happen? And God bless the guy at GameStop who was like, just handed her the box, never questioned the fact that she was buying it for a 9-year-old who was standing beside her. And my God.
And I think what made that more insane was it was Nintendo. and up to that point, what we knew of Conker, he was in Diddy Kong Racing. And he's this cute little
after
squirrel.
Banjo, right?
Right. I'm like,
yeah.
What is going on? I'm like, I'm with it, but whoa, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe one of these things will come true. You never know. We do have a Splinter Cell animated series to look forward to. So
fuck them. They can shove that up their ass.
It's such an. I was done with them when they were drunk tweeting a few years ago. You remember that?
Yeah. No, because you remember I sent it to you and Sam, and Sam was like, "I'll check with people I know that might know." And we literally fact checked it in like 15 fucking minutes. He's like, "I don't know what's going on." And then Ubisoft's like, "Oh, sorry. It appears their creative directors got a little too impaired." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?"
I'm like, "I'm done. I'm done with you guys. That's it." It's like you're responsible.
Cancel. All of Ubisoft, just cancel. Actually, it's kind of interesting if you look back on those creative directors that leaked that. Are any of them still there anymore?
Who knows, man?
That conversation.
That's a conversation for
what?
time.
One other we need back. I know we're probably about to wrap up, but we need Condemned. That needs to come back.
Yes, good shout out.
Yeah,
the original Condemned 360 launch.
Yeah, man.
Still, I believe one of the top 5 horror games ever made.
Absolutely, hands down.
It's amazing.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
There's so many, man. Legacy of Kain.
Crap out of me. God.
Oh yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Man.
It still holds up too. It still holds up. So.
Yeah, it's backwards compatible too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can go back and play it.
The first Condemned is backwards compatible, not the second.
No, not the second one.
The first one's better anyway.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
So.
But we will wrap up on Condemned, which isn't a bad place to wrap up on, honestly. Appreciate all your guys' time and, to sitting down and chat with us. So all your guys' links are in the description below, of course. But, of course, I want to give you guys the opportunity to tell people where they can find you and the great stuff you guys do. So I'll start with Mo. If people want to find you on a regular basis, where can they find you?
Oh, you can find me every day on Twitter at Dr. _Mo, MOE. And also you could find me on Sunday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern. We have a live show for the Backlog Chronicles. Its Twitter name is the Backlog _pod. I had to actually remember it. That's pretty much where I am, man. And usually I'm just, every day just trying to, spit practical shit on Twitter that pisses people off, stuff they don't want to hear, but it's actually true. So that's pretty much where you'll find me.
Absolutely. And you guys do great work over the backlog. I appreciate all the times you guys have had me on and put up with my bullshit.
Absolutely, man. Oh, yeah.
Ains, where can people find the great work you do, man?
Yeah, so just, there's not too many Ainsleys out there, so I'm easy to find. And other than that, man, just seasongaming.com. You can find everyone that writes for us over there, podcast weekly on Saturdays, reviews, articles, etc. No ads, no BS. Just talking about gaming the way that guys like us like to talk about gaming. So that's what it's all about. And any support is always greatly appreciated. So thanks for having me on, guys. Love talking with you. You know that. Sorry. But no, always a good time and really fun to be on, man. So appreciate it.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. It was great having you on. And I give this show a solid 7. So I'm going to run that joke into the dirt for the next decade. I swear.
If you didn't see, by the way, I'll DM it to you just to make sure you see it. One of the guys that writes for our site, he took an actual Assassin's Creed Valhalla sizzle reel with like review quotes and scores, like developers do. Man, but he switched a couple of them to Dan's quotes and ended with his 7. It's brilliant. I'm telling you, it's hilarious. I'll DM it, Nick. It's comical.
Perfect. Awesome. Every time I rate a game a 7, I just don't feel original anymore. It's a problem. I'm like, this is now a 6.9. Eric, where can people find you, man?
Yeah, hey, let me first say, Mo, Ains, guys, appreciate you guys coming through. It's always an honor to talk with you guys.
Likewise, brother.
2 of my favorite people around this hell site of Twitter. I should say this around the hell site of Twitter. Yeah. You guys keep up the good work, man. You guys work really hard at what you do.
Appreciate you, brother.
Definitely appreciate you guys.
Yeah, honor is mine, baby. Honor is mine, guys. Thank you.
But great conversation as always. But yeah, you can find me Twitter, EC Jackson with an X. And when I'm not there, you can find me on Brat Podcast Wednesday nights at 9:00. And tomorrow night we'll have the great Lord Cognito on.
Sweet.
Hey, I know that guy.
Nice.
Yeah, another good guy.
He's still on his world tour.
Yeah, man. Cog don't sleep.
No. I don't think that man does. Him and Ains, bro.
No,
I'm convinced Ains doesn't sleep either.
Hey, this is wrapping up for this is my 6th show and I've lost count. 7 show in 6 days, 6 shows in 7 days. So yeah. This is I get a couple days off after this one anyway. For shows, that is.
Do not ask Ains to be on a show when Halo drops because you will be denied.
I'm not even joking. I'm putting together a live Halo discussion for next week.
Yes, but you're right, real, man. Yeah, I think for the first time in a while, I think there is a hype around like Halo after what they did. It was like a 180 night and day presentation on that, at E3. It was great.
Hell yeah, dude.
I said, my daughter literally every day is saying Halo Infinity to me in some way. I don't know what happened. I don't know what she saw. It was just I think she sees the Master Chief there, and then she sees the helmet. And she saw that trailer, and she's like, "I can't wait for Halo Infinity." I'm like, "You're adorable." So I'm not correcting you. It's Halo Infinity. So yeah.
Whatever she needs to do to get into Halo, man, and it doesn't.
Yeah,
matter.
Man.
Absolutely, man.
At least she has taste. My kids are bugging me for the goddamn Sonic skin for fucking Minecraft.
Oh no, it's not. Nick, it's not all roses, man. Because then she'll go pick up her Switch and she starts playing that Ryan racing game. I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
So.
The joys of being a gaming parent. I'm Nicholas Downey. You can find me on Twitter at Undead3XVI. I don't recommend following me because I probably will say something you don't like. You can find my written work over at lordsofgaming.net in terms of my reviews, my previews, and hardware related stuff. And then, of course, for my independent game breakdowns and everything else, it's the gaming perspective on Medium. For all my more in-depth, more analysis-based stuff, and getting back to doing some original reporting. That Blue Box bit was a lot of fun. I'm definitely going to get more into those in-depth pieces a little bit more, because I think there's a lot to be done with that. But we'll wait and see what happens. And summer's going to be exciting for games, that's for sure. So we'll see you guys next week, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Sam will return, and we'll also have a great guest next week too. So stay tuned for more, and catch you guys next week.